Stylish on the outside, savage on the inside. Legion by Lenovo.
Welcome back. Match number 2. So, a bit of an interesting one. For the first match means we see Black Dragons in a very uncomfortable position down there at the bottom. And then, of course, this match following it up, perfect follow-up to see whether or not Ninjas in Pajamas continue to be their little partners down there, or if they're going to jump way ahead and send someone else down to be roommates.
So that's the scary part right now for Black Dragons. Because they lost their match, they didn't draw it, there's really no leg up over the competition. And the competition is Ninjas in Pajamas, who will be playing against Pain in this coming match. And if Nip is able to get even a draw, they will come out of that 8th spot and propel themselves in the 7th spot. And then they are no longer in the auto relegation spot. So it's, yeah, that's what these teams are fighting for here today. And of course, there's more on the line, but it is not great for BD, and Nip are, I'm sure, foaming at the mouth for the opportunity.
What I love about these matches is a situation where you're watching other teams' matches, not just for strategy. You're watching them because those points shift everything around, including your own position. And when you're just so close to the danger zone there, every match is just, no. You know, it's very exciting for them, for us, and very stressful, I have to imagine, for these guys.
So the two bottom teams that we have, Ninjas in Pajamas and Black Dragons in Latin America, share one thing, and that is their final match of the season in the next play week are against teams that are very formidable. For Black Dragons, we have FaZe as their final matchup, which is not great. So there's going to be a struggle there for them. And then for Ninjas in Pajamas, they'll be going up against Immortals in their last match. So this is where Nip need to get a win. And we'll bring up their roster so you can take a gander at the names that make up this team. Julio, Kamikaze, PZD, Psycho, and Wag.
As much as I like Black Dragons, I would hate to see these guys come out of this and not be in Pro League anymore. I mean, they've been a mainstay ever since Latin America started.
Yeah, these are really big names. If you haven't been watching Rainbow Six Latin American esports, then each and every one of these players is a standout. So seeing them in the position that they're in right now is devastating. And today is quite possibly the most important matches, or one of the most important matches of each and every one of their players' careers. They need to win here. Not just draw. At the very least draw, but they need to win here. This is, again, going up against Immortals in their final match of the season. This is the opportunity against Pain. And Pain's a formidable opponent as well. You know, no slouch, but we'll get to them later. Oh, actually, we'll bring them up right now. What the heck? Yeah, Revolt Spawns, 9XT, FK1, and GCR makes up Pain's roster. And they are one of the many teams in Siege right now that are kind of having on and off.
Yeah. I think they've been fairly decent, at least. I mean, no team, I would say, in Latin America has been consistent, but I think they've been a fairly decent team. 9XT being the only change-up that they've had, I think it's been working out fairly well, and I could say that of most of the change-ups we've seen from rosters so far this season have been positive ones for most teams. So I think that can continue to work in Pain's favor. I would hate to see for the only thing left in Pro League of Ninjas in Pajamas to be their gun skin come next season.
It's a nice gun skin.
Yeah, it absolutely is, and we may have even seen it last round. I wasn't paying attention.
I agree with you, though. It really would be a shame. Pain are not likely to be relegated. I don't even think it's possible at this point as we come down to the pretty much the end of the season. But they are, of course, fighting to get a better position, a better advantage over their opponents. We'll bring up the pick and bans, see where we're actually going to play, because that, of course, is very important in the outcome of the match. Oregon and Bake not going to be in the cards as they are auto banned from the previous play week.
All right, well, Border the first to go there, along with Consulate, so still could see a repeat of Coastline. Could even see Villa here, as that was not off the board. There goes Coastline, though, so still Villa a possibility, though, along with Clubhouse here.
So Club or Villa? Villa, a new map, new frontier. Anything could happen. It's gone. Clubhouse. Looks like we're going to be seeing that, and that's tricky. Why is that tricky?
This is a big potential oof for Ninjas Pajamas because Pain have played this 3 times. They have won 2 of those, and one of them was against guess who? Ninjas Pajamas. This is a rematch of the same matchup on the same map that they won with double the amount of points. And both teams have played it and lost it, but both teams lost it to FaZe.
Yeah.
So they are equal in that respect. Therefore, this is very heavily favored in Pain historically here.
Yeah, if you take a look at and if you look at NiP, 2 losses on this map so far. So it's not great.
No, it's not great. Let's see what you guys think. Of course, chances are Ninjas Pajamas probably going to get a few percentage points there, just because.
Very popular team.
Yeah,
popular players.
They should be, absolutely. This is, I mean, I would love to see NiP at a 70% deserving win rate, but they've not been so far there. They're such a great LAN team. It is unfortunate to see them struggle online in a way we just have not seen them do, I'd say, in a while.
Yeah, so NiP is, we talked about this. They're a really good team with excellent players. They just haven't been having a decent season so far. It's been a struggle for them. 70%. Not that much of a surprise, to be honest, though. I mean, considering their popularity and the skill that we all know that they contain.
And they've been on a little bit of an upswing, so.
Yeah, they have been on a little bit of an upswing. In the previous weeks, they were able to defeat Bootcamp and Liquid, which are, you know, pretty formidable foes. And they even 6-2'd Liquid on Border. That was impressive.
That was definitely not Liquid's best match, but it was still a very good one from Ninjas Pajamas. And they showed the Ninjas Pajamas that 70% expects. It's just, again, that's only been lately. But hey, that works out for them at least. It's just unfortunate that this is a rematch that in theory favors Pain. But I've got to imagine that means NiP have plenty they have learned from that, both from this matchup previously and from watching Pain play it as well. When they win it, of course, they can learn the winning strategies. When they lose it, well, you know, that's some weaknesses they can exploit on their team. Gotta imagine it's intentional taking them here, though. So, it's more a question, is Pain ready for what Ninjas Pajamas is trying to bring that's different this time around?
Yeah, so it all comes down to that counter strategy. Now, NiP will be defending because of that they also ban first.
Already needing a rehost.
Looks like we're going to have a rehost here to start things off. So, no...
At least should be swifter not having to put in any round data, in theory. So
yeah, it's
positive.
good that the bans hadn't happened, because if the bans would have happened, it probably would have been another minute or so.
You still have to put those in.
You got to make sure you get everything right, you know. So because it was so early, that means we'll get right back into it, hopefully.
Yeah, it just depends on how swiftly they can get the players back in, and sometimes, well, they just take their time getting in. But I got to imagine they're very antsy to get this match on, because you don't want to cool down. When you're, you know, a pro league team, and I got to imagine you know this as well. I mean, being a former pro player, you don't want to get that cooldown, right? You want to stay, you know, when you're warmed up, you want to stay warmed up. You want to get into the game. You don't want to continue to stutter and stop and start, because that will affect your momentum.
Yeah, of course. But, you know, it's gonna be the same for both teams, no matter what, how you look at this. I think it's going to come down to whichever team is able to just hunker down and be like, hey, we'll wait for the match. You know, usually if you have one of those teammates, and these teammates exist, one of them that'll start speaking up, oh man, this is the worst thing. They'll get exasperated over the fact that they had to rehost and get back into it, and it can be a pain. Yeah. Those are the types of teammates that will sink the ship. But luckily, they don't exist in a great quantity in any team in Pro League. And most of those people get weeded out pretty quickly.
Hopefully
so
it's just one situation where, like, perfect time to grab a drink, I'm ready to get going.
Exactly.
Stuff like that. That kind of attitude.
Take a little break while you wait for the match to start up. And it's an excellent mentality to have as you attempt to get things rolling.
Well, at least they are starting to funnel back in, and will take, again, some time, as it takes them a little while. Luckily, a lot of these people are team houses in situations where they are all together, so they're not spread out in, like, different internet, different, you know, communication to each other, things like that. That does benefit them being able to do that, so hopefully it won't take too long. But it'll be interesting, again, to see. Unfortunately, we didn't get to see at least the operator bans, to be able to talk about those and see where things were going to go.
I mean, I'm sure we can predict some of the operator bans. I mean, okay, it's Clubhouse, so I'm guessing Lion, first of all, probably going to be banned.
The one map where Maverick makes the most sense to ban.
Maverick could be a ban, yeah. Habana, also, a very likely ban if one of these teams wants to hunker down on the basement. For defense, we're probably going to see an Echo, because I feel like that's a foregone conclusion at this point.
You sometimes see a Maestro with it as well, because just there are a lot of good uses for Maestro, but Mira does often take a lot of precedence on most maps.
Mira's also still good on Clubhouse. She's, you know, you can play without her, but she's definitely a solid ban if you want to counter your opponents. And in knowing ways. I mean, the mirror windows are almost always in the same positions on each site, so it's the sort of thing that you can strategize around. So she could be banned. So we got Echo, Maestro, Mira on the defense. We've got Habana, we've got Maverick, and we have Glaz maybe, Lion certainly, you know.
Yeah, the attackers are I think there's a bigger pool that they could potentially be banned from, because the defenders, you saw the ban rates earlier, they're very high because there's only a few defenders that you really want to ban. I mean, every once in a while we saw in the first half of the season people experimenting with banning Jaeger, banning Smoke. It was very rare, but you know, there was a lot more, I think, experimentation with banning operators that were more steadfast ones. I mean, Jaeger and Smoke, you saw the pick rate earlier, obviously not happening anytime lately.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't see many bans these days, but it is interesting when it does happen. The thing about Jaeger bans is that they require other bans not to have happened. So, like Ying. Ying needs to not be banned if you really want to lean into a Jaeger ban. And that can work, but we've also seen that exact thing play out. We've seen it be Jaeger's banned, Ying's not banned. And the team that worked their way into that scenario brings Ying, and Ying doesn't do anything. So it really depends on the team. It depends on the situation. It can be hit or miss. I mean, that's the nature of the operator bans, though. You can ban Habana on Clubhouse, go into the defensive Clubhouse, go to the basement, and just not win it.
Have a good old time.
Which is not supposed to happen when a Habana is not on the board, but it does.
You get a little overconfident. I mean, it's a situation, too, where you don't necessarily need to, because in theory it should be much easier to impact trick Kitchen Hatch now. In which the Kitchen Hatch, of course, is a big part of it, but Blue is also a lot more difficult to deal with now because, yeah, you could kind of hide from the hatch before, but it's not just the hatch you need to hide from now, it's also the stairs.
See, the thing is, if Habana is banned and they're impact tricking the kitchen drop down, then effectively the kitchen drop down is just, you cannot push that. Yeah. It's a non-starter. You have to instead seek out other opportunities. And what will almost always happen is the attackers will take blue, they'll open the moto drop, they'll push it through the church wall, and they'll try to do the hammer and anvil strategy that way. And it can work. Yeah. It can work. It's a very old strat, but it's one that's proven time and time again successful. So there are certainly options no matter what, and no matter how it plays out.
Something else we could see here potentially is the Thermite ban. It doesn't happen as often, but with how prevalent Thermite is in Latin America, and you know, with the things like Cash now becoming more common than Church, depending on the bans, it is something that I mean, yeah, Gym Bedroom's not a big deal. You want Habana more often than not, and he was on that one. But of course, the Kennel's Wall on Cash, such a big deal for Thermite.
We have seen Thermite banned on Clubhouse a number of times, and it does make sense given how powerful he makes some of the top floor bomb sites. But, you know, similar to Habana, there's always a way to work it as an attacking team. And
it's a good thing for the game, though.
It is a good thing for the game, and I think that's what the excess of hard destruction, well, not necessarily excess, but the ample hard destruction available to the attack, it offers options while not, you know, making it too easy. And I think, you know, even though Maverick is super powerful in his own way, he's not necessarily the same as Habana or Thermite. So something to consider.
Well, it should be interesting because more often than not, the first person to ban on defense, which in this case is going to be Nip, more than likely going to have to ban Lion to be safe, which makes the second ban a bit more in control. So Pain can kind of decide, you know, is that going to be the hard breacher that they want? Because there's 3 possible hard breachers that are all useful on this map in different ways and different bomb sites worth potentially banning, or do they just ban something else? Like, we don't want to deal with Glaz. Sometimes we don't want to deal with Blitz. So many possibilities. Thankfully, we are getting back into the ban phase, though, as we finally got everyone back in, so we'll find out in a moment.
Again, ninjas in pajamas get to ban first, and oh, look at that. Surprise, surprise, Lion is gone in the blink of an eye.
Yep, and that is the problem sometimes with starting defense in the current meta, is you are sometimes, your hand is a little bit forced. We saw what happened one time, for example, when G2 didn't ban Lion first.
2 times, actually.
Yeah.
The only 2 matches that G2 have not won this season were because, not necessarily because, that's unfair, but in both of those matches, Lion wasn't banned.
Well, there's many people that would say that the one LAN they didn't win recently, Atlantic City, was partially due to not being able to ban Lion. So we do see no hard destructors banned, though. All of them left available. Clash being banned here, though, means you can't have Maestro and Echo and Mira banned. So at least some good defensive operators will be left here. to be able to hold this out, and maybe that will affect which bomb sites, of course, they prefer first, based on what they have available. Echo. So we are seeing something similar to what we saw on Coastline, with the exception of Ying being traded out for Dokkaebi, although kind of funny considering then Ying got played plenty on Coastline, as opposed to here, which, I mean, I don't feel like Ying is nearly as strong on this map. Unfortunately, we will be, again, taking a short rehouse here. We may or may not be going to a break for that, as it will be taking a little bit longer, as Kix mentioned earlier, with the bans in store as well.
Yeah, so unfortunate that that happened a second time.
One inch at a time.
Yeah, it happens sometimes.
Yeah.
But at least we have the bans done, so we know we're going to have Lion, Ying, Echo, and Clash not in play. Two operators we actually didn't even theorize on there. Clash and Ying. Ying making sense, Clash making sense as well. Yeah, coming out of left field, I guess, a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it leaves a lot on the board for the defenders, though, in the sense of, yeah, you don't want to deal with Clash, you don't want to deal with the Echo, but you still have that Maestro is going to be key, and maybe depending on the bomb site may still be a big factor as well. It's going to be a little bit trickier for some of the attack. Plus, no hard breachers being banned, though, it does mean they have some advantage on attack, so it could be balancing out. But either way, we'll take a short break here, so you can theorize as well, and we'll be right back.
Stylish on the outside, savage on the inside. Legion by Lenovo.
Well, welcome back to what will hopefully be the conclusion of this match, concluding from the ban phase to the end. But
The conclusion of a part of this match.
yeah.
We're getting there.
The good news is we have 4 of the 5 players in. It did look like Ninjas in Pajamas might have been having some internet connection issues. I believe they probably are in a team house, therefore all of them having the internet connection issues at the same time. So once we are able to get them all in, hopefully we'll be ready. It looks like they are all in, so we just have to wait for the ready. But that's good news. So hopefully we can get a little bit farther, maybe just at least 1 round. Let's try and do that, get that over with.
Hopefully more. I'm going to angle for more. I might be pushing my luck,
All right.
but I'm angling for more. I'm imagining we could get this whole match done and have a good one at that, as this is still such an important one for pretty much both teams. You know, Ninjas in Pajamas, of course, up against a wall, being in the death spot right now at that 8th position, but Pain could be there by the end of this season.
So many possibilities in just 2 play days.
It's unlikely, but they could find themselves there. So, here we go. Match going to load in. It's going to be the basement for the first bomb site for Ninjas in Pajamas.
Oh, they switched it up to gym bedroom even.
Oh, look at that. Okay.
Wow, getting tricky.
So we're going all over the place.
All right, well, at least we know that now. So 1 step farther. Of course, bans are still the same as they were. They do not change. See how they're going to play this, though. So let's see here. We do have at least the Lion and Echo banned out by Ninjas Pajamas, and that will, I imagine, factor into their defense a little bit. They won't be able to play with that Echo, but they will still be able to play with Mirror Smoke Maestro, plenty of delay, and then the 6th pick over to the Bandit. So C4 probably in hand either way, but now batteries instead of cameras. That will be helpful, of course, in stopping that jacuzzi wall from being opened. They do not, and they do have a Thatcher, so I can't imagine that's going to stop them for long, especially if any pressure could be put on that gym window.
Interesting that they're going to 6-pick into the Bandit. I get that they want to Bandit trick some walls, and there's some good ones you can do on this site. Better ones on server. But,
I mean, you can still Bandit trick the server ones if you want to.
yeah, definitely something you could do, and it looks like Nip is going to be playing over by server and cash room, so there you go. Maybe that's what their plan is. But
I mean, that makes sense, because you could set up the batteries on jacuzzi wall, not worry about them too much, which is good, because there's the Thatcher anyways. You're not going to, it's going to take up a lot of time to trick that, and it's very difficult, as opposed to just, you know, set up some batteries over there and then try and trick the other wall to deny them flank.
certainly. So, Ninjas in Pajamas going to gym first. You know, this is a site that has been all over the place. I think initially people dismissed it because it used to be the worst site in the game. Then they realized that it was the best site because you could impact trick. Then the impact tricking got taken away from the jacuzzi wall, and it's gone all over the place. A bit of a roller coaster of a bomb site. But it has found itself in a nice, comfortable, balanced position compared to the other bomb sites on this map lately.
And that's something you don't ever really get to see on this defense, is that window set up facing the jacuzzi wall, knowing the jacuzzi wall will not stay up forever. You want to be able to do something about anyone trying to pressure in through it, which is a very common thing to happen. So I like that idea. And this is, you mentioned the impact tricking thing. This is the only example I think we have of impact tricking going the other way, you know, being taken away from a bomb site, as it's become so prevalent everywhere else, and it's still available on many of the other spots on this map here.
Yeah, I mean, the real problem with the jacuzzi wall was that it was a one-way affair.
Yeah.
The impact tricking was available to the defense, but you couldn't counter it by throwing grenades in the opposite direction because of that little metal sheet.
Yeah.
Then they fixed that problem. Instead of making it open, they just closed it entirely for both teams.
Just said good night, and in doing so, they made it not as favorable of a bomb site anymore. But as we said, with some of the bans going the way they did, they still are able to play it in an interesting way, and they are going to try and at least lock out a push from server side if possible. And you actually have Psycho playing downstairs on the Bandit, I believe.
Yeah, he's just looking to go for a late flank, I'm sure, as he set himself up in Adam's spot. Or the top of blue hallway stairs, if you want to refer to it that way. Storage room, maybe.
Adam.
PZD playing some aggressive angles in the bomb site, and he's not going to expose himself to anybody because there's no one holding those angles, but he could potentially moving forward.
Yeah, we did hear a window get popped, so hopefully for their sake it's not the one facing that jacuzzi wall from bathroom, but Psycho making his flank count.
Yeah, from behind he will take down FK1, the Habana, which is some of the hard destruction now eliminated for Pain, but more importantly, they're going to have to reassess their flank hold and move GCR off a push through the door to site into a flank hold position. Kamikaze peeking aggressively into the open wall towards Jacuzzi, and he will take out 9XT. So Ninjas in Pajamas looking really good in this round so far. And Pain, on the other hand, really feeling it as they come down to the last 40 seconds.
Ooh, nice flank again by Psycho. That's 2. Taking off, both hard breachers gone. Job at least somewhat done by them. But this is a tough position to be able to work their way out from, especially when that grenade's not even going to get thrown. But Revolt's at least trading 1. Doesn't matter. Kamikaze finishes it. Defenders, like you said, looking really good for Nip there. Starting off with a nice surprise for Pain, who were probably going into this match a little confident.
Excellent gunplay from Kamikaze, and a big part of why Nip were able to win that round. But also the well-timed flank that we saw happen earlier from the Bandit. So well done to Ninjas in Pajamas overall. A nice hold, and they will go to the basement now.
Yeah, I'm not sure the 6th picking to the Bandit even really made that much difference unless he was that much more comfortable on the gun. Because it was a situation where I don't think the batteries really did a ton for them when they had the Thatcher anyways. No. And he was playing, you know, a far off position where he couldn't be doing any tricking. But either way, though, he made his gun absolutely work along with his sneaky 3-speed. I suppose that's the difference, right? Is he had 3-speed versus...
I mean, the setup from Nip was kind of interesting because they had those shield, not only... Oh, he 6-picked onto Bandit. Not only... was the shield put up and the Bandit batteries replaced, but you know, you could have brought a Valkyrie. The shield didn't really do anything because you're not trying to trick. It was just kind of a confusing setup.
No, they just really won a lot of gunfights in the 2 flanks by Psycho. Made a huge difference, not to mention the Maestro peeking out onto the Thermite.
It was just a good work between Kamikaze and Psycho, and that's really all it comes down to, winning your fights.
Well, it could just be a case where they're not warmed up too much yet on the Pain side. But that was a nice surprise in an uncommon bomb site, so that might have caught them off guard. This is going to be a bit more conventional, even somewhat conventional windows being set up, because, well, like you said, there's only so many places to put them.
Yeah, and that's why you see some teams that'll even practice without Mira, and when she's not banned, still not play her. Well, she is predictable, if anything. So, Pain have opted to bring both of the hard destructors that would most aid them on this bomb site. There's no Maverick, but he's not essential here. He's very powerful, though. You know, there's so much utility you get from other operators. It's sometimes just not a good option.
No, better to bring the double hard breacher. I mean, maybe it might be a different case had he kept his smokes. Might have been a situation where you might want to consider replacing one of the hard breachers with him. But yeah, absolutely. This is a mainstay of Latin America, is bringing both of them, especially if neither are banned, of course. So
a hard destructor with smokes is a fearsome prospect.
It certainly is. Remember with Thermite with grenades as well was an interesting one back in the day.
Smokes and grenades, 2 of the most sought-after projectiles for the attack, and giving them to someone who has hard destruction. Ugh.
Yeah, flashbangs are mostly used to burn ADS at this point, but Kamikaze just barely spotting the tip of the head there. The shark fin not sticking up at the moment to give him away. GCR, though, somehow getting away with this.
Yeah, he will push in after missing his nade. He did a little bit of damage to Kamikaze, but he was able to slip away through that bathroom rotation, though. It doesn't look like Kamikaze's ready for this. The mark's coming out. The pre-fire from GCR will miss, though, and the Legion attempts the fight. It's an even exchange thus far, and Legion will win it out. Kamikaze, well played inside of Jim. GCR, despite having the advantage in almost every sense, will lose the fight. And FK1 unable to get that refrag in the immediate because of well-placed Legion traps and a well-timed fallback. Kamikaze going to play inside of the bathroom looking for another potential kill.
Definitely could be a good one here as well. Being low on health here, though, shouldn't win this fight, but having to use the pistol, nice flank there from FK1, though. That's going to shut that down. Give them more time here to make this push. Now they got to start opening hatches, but a minute left. And at least they have map control of the top 2 floors.
And they're going to start opening up those drop downs. And because they have an abundance of hard destruction, they can open pretty much anything they want. They can open the drop downs and the church wall. They have choices. Psycho in the game-winning position, but will he be successful? No!
Whoa!
9XT, the game sense, hearing the loud footsteps from the metal by pool table, will give away that bandit, and 9XT, a huge kill for his team.
Yeah, Psycho was in a position to get 2, maybe 3 kills had he been able to play with enough intelligence on it, and there might have even been cameras from PZD. So far, though, this is looking like a much better round for Pain, not just the man advantage, but just winning gunfights that are being a bit more difficult for them outside of GCR's lost gunfight upstairs.
Julio attempting to hold the push from Moto. There's so little time left. The C4 from Valkyrie to try and deny the plan, and it will be successful. FK1 takes out Julio. It's still anyone's round, but WAG is able to deny the defuse plant once more, and Ninjas in Pajamas will take the round on time.
Definitely a situation where you really thought Pain should have been able to win that. Time management is a difficult thing, especially when you're having trouble taking those top 2 floors. I'm sure they missed the days when you didn't have roamers upstairs on Church, but those days potentially gone. We will see Cash, though, being their 3rd bomb site, what is many times a primary bomb site. Maverick, though, going to get teased if not played. Might be a 6th pick there for GCR, actually, to sneak that in. Now that would be all 3 hard breachers in, which would be interesting to see, as that's pretty rare coming out from any team, but so far not going for it yet.
The attack from Pain there was quite interesting. The most notable thing, though, is that NIP were able to delay for so friggin' long.
Kamikaze a big part of that.
Yeah, Kamikaze definitely a big part of that. Psycho as well. As much as he didn't actually manage to get any kills, he did distract and delay for a decent amount of time. And that's the important thing. And that's how NIP managed to get the win. They delayed for so much time.
Well, that's what that bomb site's all about, right? Of all the bomb sites especially, it's just about turtling down there most of the time, but the 2 roamers absolutely making that turtle much more effective.
Yeah. So, Ninjas in Pajamas now going to go to the 3rd bomb site after being successful on both gym and the basement. They have to go somewhere different. The only site that we don't really see played with any reliability is the bar.
Yeah.
So that's likely to be ignored from both teams.
That's always been the non-preferential bomb site. Back when there was only 2 bomb sites you had to play, that was the short stick most of the time, and still the short stick here.
Well,
situation.
I mean, it was the short. It was the secondary bomb site.
It was the short stick that got played.
Yeah, you had to play it because the other options were just a no-go.
Yeah. Well, now we see them being somewhat successful, so it's fantastic to see that.
Yep.
We are seeing, this is a good site for Maestro, so Kamikaze is definitely going to be in a good position here. But of course, this crack, always, I'd say this is one of the most important cracks in the map altogether. But again, the window's getting popped here. That might have actually been intentional because Psycho was in the right position, had it lined up. So good play if that was.
That's just a little bit of laziness on 9XT's part, and it will cost him his life. And not only did it cost him his life, but it will cost his team greatly, as he was playing Thermite, one of the most important operators on this site. Habana's still in play, but Sledge isn't going to be any longer, as Kamikaze just peeks into GCR, so the nade's no longer going to be available to the attack. FK1 will open up a single chunk of this wall using all of his Excaros already. I mean, it's likely that's a vaultable wall, but it's such a small bottleneck, and in this situation, it does not seem to be something Pain will be able to use.
This is getting close to unwinnable, especially if the wall into construction connector is reinforced. It leaves you having to fight doorways and choke points, like you said. It is a tough spot to be in. They've also got the windows. I mean, unless they can win a staggering amount of gunfights here, Pain pretty much locked out of the bomb site.
Yeah, well done to Ninjas in Pajamas, already making this look like a dominant round. They have been just that so far in this match, dominant. And Kamikaze's going to get another one. On to FK, just peeking, hearing his opponent break that barbed wire and deciding that he is not allowed to play in this round anymore. Well, Pain are looking for something, some sort of thread to start pulling on, but they cannot seem to find it. Every single push they make is met with even more failure.
Yeah, outside of the smokes, they don't have much utility left to work with either, and then not much health at the moment here for Revolts as well.
PZD just playing the scenario as passively as possible. He knows he doesn't need to get the kill because Kamikaze will get the kill, vaulting through his opponent's made hole before Psycho is able to get the final frag. This is Pajamas. Perfect round, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, and definitely a lot of credit, I'd say, for a lot of these rounds going over to Kamikaze and Psycho. I mean, not all to them. There's definitely teamwork involved in the kills they're getting and the way it's working. But overall, it's been working out fairly well for those two, despite you know, him dying from that flank from Strip Club last time. Still, just those two, they need to start getting shut down if Pain want to be in this.
And even if they do get shut down, the level of talent on Nip,
Yeah.
I mean, it could be anyone who to step in and fill those shoes.
Well, those who were doubting Nip so far looking like it's starting to swing very heavily in their way. 3 rounds up now. They have to start recycling the bomb sites as they've won all 3 of them. So Psycho finally 6-picking something different over to the Mute. Still going to have probably a C4. Still going to be able to deny some walls, but a slightly different style and a little bit of slower pace of play.
Yeah. T1 need the points, or sorry, pardon me, Pain need the points.
Team 1 do need the points too.
Well, yeah, well, honestly they do, yeah. That's kind of the point I'm trying to make here. All of the teams that we've seen play so far today, T1, Black Dragons, Pain, Nip, they all need the points the same
Everyone's
amount.
hungry for points.
Because almost, I believe, most of them can still be relegated.
Could you imagine if every match was a tie today? How much that would
Oh man,
frustrate everything?
yeah, that would be real bad.
Like, basically almost nothing would change then.
Yeah, so Nip are fighting a lot fiercer right now for this victory, it seems. Pain are definitely putting up a tussle, but it seems to be a struggle that's not really working out great for them.
One thing I like about the change-up and bringing Psycho on the Mute is now he gets to jam the same walls in the same way that's probably just going to be disposed of by the Thatcher. But they didn't bring the Thatcher, so it's dependent on the Twitch instead. And now he has extra ones to deny some drone play, which in itself may help deny revolts. You saw one, for example, on the doorway coming into bedroom from the constructor connection. And that's one that's you're not going to be able to just jump over. Obviously, you can't sneak the Twitch drone around it, probably not an angle you can even get it from. So it's going to deny potentially even taking out some of those walls.
I really like how assertive you could see Pain being right now, just pushing into Garage, following up their drones. And that's going to force PZD. As he hears the vault from Garage, he knows that it's a bad challenge, and he'll fall all the way back to Connector in construction. Good call there. A lot of ground lost, but he will make Pain suffer for it as he takes out FK1, the Habana. So lots of hard destruction just whisked away there.
Yeah. Unfortunately, GCR has not had a good track record with his entries as well. I mean, he's still live at the moment, but it's just not been working out very well. At least some map control in their favor, though, and they are playing around from some different angles, which could work out for them.
This is tricky. 9XT can't open the jacuzzi wall because, oh no, there's no Thatcher, and Revolts is busy elsewhere. So this is a situation where 9XT is just going to be sitting on this balcony for the foreseeable future until somebody
There's that Mute Jammer.
changes the situation with the Mute Jammer.
That's the one I was talking about as well. It did exactly what I said it would, and that was the change-up that they made on Psycho. Absolutely paid off.
Great job to Nip for seeing this situation. Although I gotta say, credit to Pain as well for shooting themselves in the foot, not bringing a Thatcher when they knew it was going to be a gym defense.
Yeah, and unfortunately that Evil Eye as well, even denying his one entry point he had there. So far GCR's only job is being able to open up things at the moment. Gunfight's not his forte, but at least there's still 4 left alive in 45 seconds, but they're going to have to push some gunfights and use that smoke to their advantage.
Random smoke that doesn't seem to accomplish much of anything means that Spawns will only have 1 to cut off the visual between sites. The nade from GCR will miss, so utility not eaten up for Pain. C4 will also miss, though, for Nip, so it's a nice and even exchange. Though the defenders are in a much better spot given an even exchange. Pain really needs an advantage right now, and they are not being given one. As PZD takes down 9XT, Kamikaze will also take out GCR. The last 2 attackers will be forcing their way up the main stairs, and Revolt's an excellent shot onto the Jaeger, getting a little too aggressive. Psycho at the top of the stairs, though, doing a lot of work. Spawns cannot fight so many opponents, and Ninja Pajamas will take their 4th round in a row.
I definitely worry for the mentality of Pain coming into this at this point, 4 rounds in, because it's just been frustration after frustration. That's not getting better, it's getting worse.
Yeah.
As you saw from that round. Good adaptations by Nip on their 2nd go-round on Jim, just dominating it at that time as much as they did with Cash, and it's looking like a struggle for Pain to really start to feel like they can get some kind of advantage. Like you said, though, they did push a little more aggressively, which was good. That showed that they weren't just kind of whimpering down and playing super passive on their attacks, which would be terrible, as you saw when it comes to time management as it was. But just the utility usage has been much better, and the gunfight being won by Nip. Church, for the second time around now, again, we will see one adaptation. Now they're going to bring the castle instead of Goo Mines.
Legion, universally useful. Castle, very specific in his use. Yeah. So, interesting change there for Nip. We'll see what they choose to do with those barricades. And it's always nice to have a new setup to work with on these sides.
Nice to see that GCR is going to go with the Buck instead of the Sledge, as Sledge just doesn't seem to be working out for him so much so far. But again, going with the double hard breachers. For having double hard breachers, they're not having a lot of success opening things up. It seems like usually one of the two dying fairly early or being denied utility. Just, it's been a struggle. Look at that. Just between those 4 rounds, that's what, 5 kills?
And we've got 3 players still with 0 kills between both teams.
I mean, I know we like to say kills are not everything, but they certainly are everything for Nip at the moment in terms of just denying.
The strategy from Nip has also been very solid. Pain, a few hiccups here and there as well, so it's all just kind of going Nip's way right now.
Yeah, this is, I mean, we talked about how important of a match this is for them. Being at 4-0 in this situation right here makes it so much more likely they are going to potentially get themselves out of the danger zone here in this matchup, because Pain coming back 4 rounds in a row with the way they've been just, I don't know, stumbling along, they're going to have to really switch things up pretty heavy on defense to bring this back.
Yeah.
We'll see, though. There is still one castle barricade left. They may or may not need it, but he's just going to go on that roam.
Yeah, just looking for something to happen upstairs. Doesn't seem like Castle was too much of an influential pick. He still has a armored panel, which is kind of odd.
In case he needs a temporary mattress to just relax on, I suppose.
Or maybe a fast action barricade, but I mean, it's a dangerous thing, and he's just gonna die.
Doesn't matter now, I guess.
Rotation cut off by spawns. Well done to him. A very confusing operator pick, and a confusing way of playing Castle.
Yeah, well, at least a minute's still being burned, and the fact that they saw one roamer means there's a chance that will be more. Wag here going to be playing the usual smoke roll. So everything else kind of going back to default now that Castle's out of here.
Yeah. Castle's not a bad operator. I'm just not sure what they were trying to do with them there. Well, I guess we'll maybe see moving forward. I don't even know where the barricades are right this second. Though, Pain have managed to take control of the top floors here, and that is something that they have struggled with in the past. The fact that it has been allowed here is going to hurt Nip just a little bit. C4 will miss from Julio, and that's a lot of utility not really used great there by the Mira. And interestingly, they were actually going to have the kitchen drop down opened up. So
yeah,
there you go. A good advantage to have.
Upside as well, not only do they have all 5 alive, they have things open, they have hard breachers, they have vertical destruction. They also have a Dokkaebi to help control any late game roams that might come up, say, from those blue stairs.
NXT will also take down PZD, so this is the best round we've seen so far from Pain, and it comes in their very last attacking round. They really do need this, no matter how you look at it. Lots of pressure being applied here vertically through the kitchen holes and drop down. That's all thanks to, of course, the Castle not being in a position to impact trick that drop, as he was roaming upstairs inexplicably. Psycho playing behind the minibar of A, and he's not feeling a lot of pressure right now. It seems to be mostly an Arsenal push here from the attackers, but they're going to have to step it up. There's only 20 seconds left. Wag will be taken down because of the buzz in his pocket. Well done to 9XT, and Dokkaebi going to lay down those smokes. Psycho will see through the guys though, and he will take out 9XT on the drop. The grenade well placed to cut off Julio's rotation, forcing him into a bad position. Psycho's still in play, but FK doing work, managing to get a kill on the rotation. Psycho's position well known to his opponents, but the same is also true for Psycho onto his opponents. And you see inside of Arsenal, he is getting a multitude of marks, but it's not going to matter, as FK1 will shut him down. A nice attack onto the Arsenal for Pain, and their very first round.
And a very good one. I mean, we saw them actually with a fairly dominant attack the first time on Church. It was time management that killed them. Almost the same thing this round. Despite the dominance, if they hadn't been able to get that plant down as fast as they were able to after losing the first attempted planter, dropping and getting killed by Maestro, that could have been a repeat of, yeah, you have the people left, it doesn't matter if you don't get the plant down. So that kill on the WAG happening when it did, that made all the difference in them actually being able to succeed in it, because WAG just being able to hold that angle as long as he was completely denying any attempt to drop that hatch and plant. And that is, of course, the problem with dropping hatch for plants is, well, it is pretty much the definition of a bottleneck. We will see, though, things change around. Of course, now they're changing sides. And Psycho on Glass is something that is very, very much to be feared, I would say, for most teams.
Psycho on Glass is a well-known tool of destruction. And especially, I think he actually made his name known on Glass, specifically on Clubhouse basement attack.
Yeah.
Because seeing Psycho come out of the construction tunnel and just shredding people, pushing into Arsenal it's a memory.
Yeah.
It's a fun memory, and I'm sure it's a tool that NiP are going to try to use the best of their ability in this round. Or, you know, push him from Moto. Honestly, you can't really go wrong.
Yep.
Glass pushing into the basement, he's got a lot of options.
Well, the nice thing as well is they brought the Capitat with him. That's going to give him the ability to, regardless of any kind of Jaeger play, be able to get those smokes down. And so let's say the pressure comes down to the end, they still have them both left alive and haven't burned the ADSs. That will give him a nice advantage in making that push happen. So, I mean, they've got a lot of utility to make this work here. It's all on whether or not they can continue to play as well as they've been playing before. Pain, though, at least going into the side switch with some confidence, having won that last round.
Yeah, I mean, of course, it's on the opposite side. They're now defending it, but still, seemingly the place they're most comfortable. Now, Ninjas in Pajamas haven't committed themselves to anything quite yet, and rightfully so. On a basement attack, you do really need to feel out your opponents before you actually choose where you're going to attack from. There does seem to be an actual, you know, a lack of defense by Blue. You could see that FK1, I believe it is, playing on the blue stairs, but that's it. And he will fall all the way back to the actual blue room itself.
Yeah, once control happens on those blue stairs, very often you're pretty much locked out of being able to push back up for any rotates. But if only one person controls blue stairs and they can get taken down, you can make those rotates happen. And a Claymore like PZD put down on the ladder, not as important as it used to be in that sense. They are still rotating around, though, but they've got hatches open. They've still got a minute 50 left to make this happen. It's still looking very good for Ninjas in Pajamas, especially, as you mentioned, they pushed that Jaeger back.
I might be mistaken, but I thought I just heard the Glass open up the stock drop down with his rifle. So that might have been a little bit of a mistake there from the defense, allowing for NiP to get an easy drop open.
Yeah, definitely a more important hatch, as you were mentioning earlier, than it used to be. Certainly a good one to have open here, and unfortunately, hanging out inside dirt isn't going to do you a ton of good when they've got a Glass to be able to push in there on you.
Slow going here for both teams. Spawn's still trying to impact trick that kitchen drop down for as long as he can. And he will be successful thus far, though NiP doesn't seem keen on pushing that particular angle. Spawn's so close to death, but also so close to a kill of his own. You see PZD trying to disorient his opponent on the other side of this wall. GCR looking to bandit trick Church Wall as long as possible. That's a bad miss there for PZD, gonna work against him. Spawn still holding this angle makes this push so dangerous for NiP. Though Psycho is all the way in the sight, he will miss all of his shots despite having the advantage of smoke, and Pain will still hold on to this site. The spray from Revolts will take out WOG. Excellent job to him, and NiP are starting to fall apart here. Julia will get their very first kill, and a follow-up into Arsenal. The spray from GCR is wild but true, and Revolts will be even better as he takes down 2 opponents. It's all up to Julio, but the firebolt is very well placed, and he will down one and finish him off. Revolts goes down. GCR still in play, having been picked up by his teammate. You can see that Julio wants this ace so bad he can taste it, but it's not going to be enough to taste it. He has to follow it through. And Spawns will say no. Pain take the round, and they're second in this match.
Unfortunately, that was Ninjas in Pajamas' round to lose. They had time advantage. They had man advantage. Well, not man advantage, rather. I mean, they had operator advantage, and the choices that they made were very, you know, useful on the push they were trying to make. But you see Psycho losing that fight, for example, to start out with. That was really where the dominoes started to fall. I mean, outside of Julio's plays just managing to barely work out, nothing they were doing was working after that. I mean, the double play of the Bandit and the Maestro hanging out behind the bar, that was an interesting strategy because you don't usually see a double down like that, and that actually could have paid off for Julio had he been able to hit the fire at just the right spot to down both of them and take them out. But in the end, he didn't even have the diffuser. Didn't matter what happened with that gunfight against Spawns. They were just in a tough spot. And it's funny when they go from having such time advantage to not. You got to wonder what PZD was thinking with the way he was playing on that church wall. Not really accomplishing a whole lot. Maybe trying to do something with the Bandit, but really, as you said, more often backfiring on himself. We will see, instead of a double hard breacher with the Thermite and Havana, this time a Thermite and a Maverick, which does make sense for the upper floors. In this case, though, it's going to be Jim and not Cash, which I would say Cash makes a little bit more sense for, but at the same time, you can somewhat use it in a similar fashion in terms of the Maverick on the other side on the wall, so you don't have to worry about trying to use, say, a Thatcher or something like that to be able to try and deny. In this case, what would be the Mute Jammer should be fairly easy to take out, is it's going to be exactly between the two walls. You know exactly where it's at. You don't have to try and guess and open up a ton of holes. So should, in theory, be easy for Wag to get that wall open.
I'd say Maverick's going to be useful no matter which site he goes to on this map. You know, if you really look at the basement, he can solo his way into the construction of tunnel. On this site, he can open up that jacuzzi wall and do damage without you being able to notice because of how quiet he is.
Nice point about dirt, because there's very few spots where Maverick can pretty much burn a whole hole uncontested, and I would say that is one of them where you're rarely going to be contested doing that.
Yeah. And then finally, of course, there's Cash, which, you know, just denying the Bandit trick on server wall alone saved you a lot of headache because teams will attack all of Garage in order to deny that Bandit trick, and you just don't. You could skip that step.
Yeah.
So here we go. Jim set up, and Nip are keen to open up the jacuzzi wall, of course, as that is the standard way of attacking the site currently.
The way they're using Kamikaze right now, though, is actually delaying a lot of their attack. Thankfully, he rotates around, but it was just he was spending a lot of time droning early, but at least they got good positioning. As I said, the Mute Jammer going to be in a very predictable position, makes this easier. Bandit might have been a little more effective, but nonetheless, wall gets open, and now a lot of time left for Nip to work with.
Yeah, truth be told, the Maverick probably should have been in a better position to just spawn and move to that jacuzzi wall earlier on.
He could drone after.
Yeah, drone after is a good way to put it. You have a job to do, you need to get it done. The Thermite was just waiting patiently, and that's some time wasted for Nip.
Almost no one can do anything to kill you in that position outside of some really risky plays.
So, time wasted, but they did get the job done, and now they're starting to drone out their opponents, see how the setup is, and what they're going to need to deal with. Psycho is all the way into bathroom. What is going on? Where are the anchors right now?
This after all.
This should be a very easy plant. The Firebolt will cut off rotation from construction. Now the main worry for Nip has to be the office, but they've got that covered because of the jacuzzi wall being opened up. Anybody sitting on jacuzzi balcony could get an easy kill there. Looks like a missed C4 from their opponents, and Nip are looking better and better as this round continues to play out. A double for Psycho! Absolutely insane, and FK1 will get the refrag, but the damage is done. Julio able to take FK and another onto GCR. PZD doing his job and cutting off that rotation. An excellent attack from Ninjas in Pajamas, and a perplexing setup for Pain Gaming.
I mean, I gotta say, at least it took them a while to get the kill in the bedroom, but there was just nothing to stop them. And the quick flick around to get the shot on a logistics office as well from the Ash, just nicely played. In terms of taking control, like you said, getting in that bathroom that early, the Maverick play working out very well. I mean, yeah, it was a little bit lagged, but nonetheless, they still had plenty of time left to work with, and just no real contesting coming out from Pain, who are mostly stuck on the other side. Bar being brought out here seems like an act of desperation, or maybe cleverness if they could pull it off. But when you are on match point here, and at very best you can get 1 point, this is very risky to be bringing it out at this point. The Montaigne here, actually being the 6th pick, could have been reading right on into that first stock play.
So, yeah, that's actually kind of crazy that Nip have decided to bring Montaigne here. I don't know if it's them reading into it or the stars aligning.
Yeah.
So if you're wondering what we're talking about here, Montaigne is one of the best operators to have while attacking this site. And it's never been a great site to defend, but one of the tried and true strategies to attack it with is pushing Montaigne in through stock door.
Yeah.
And now Nip has that option.
The one thing that works against the attackers is the fact that Cash is a little bit harder to take now, just because of the ability to play. Yeah, but other than that, it's still a great way to execute. It's almost disappointing that Psycho is not on Glass to go with that, because the Glass Monty combo is...
Oh boy. Whew. Well, to be fair, Psycho did have a great round last round playing as Ash.
I think he had a great round almost every round.
And when he was playing Glaz earlier, he was not doing well. So
true.
Sometimes you just have off days on one of your mainstays. So
very true.
You know, a little bit of rotation never hurt anybody, and it seems to be working well for Psycho now that he's playing on Ash.
And we are seeing actually our first Vigil of the day, so Revolts is going to have to make that really worthwhile to make this happen, because, I mean, yeah, there's plenty of ways you can roam on Clubhouse here now in the current situation. You do want to be roaming upstairs to be able to cover from above, but it's going to be pretty predictable, and of course the signal jam showing up on the drone is going to make it pretty obvious what you're very likely to be doing, because you're not really going to be hanging out in bars Vigil.
No, it's not an ideal scenario as an operator who prides himself on being a roamer. You want to be able to, be a roamer.
Yeah, he could be downstairs, I guess.
Yeah, being on the site's not really going to help your team too much. So, I mean, yeah, the main reason, honestly, the main reason you bring Vigil is just because this kid is so good. You got the gun, you got the impacts. It's such a valuable operator outside of his actual utility. Missed flashbang. Whoops. He's trying to clear out the ADSs, but he's going to hit his opponent. Not going to mean much in the long run, but Julio is well into B, and just now he's going to be confronted with the gas canisters from 9XT. Now, there was an opportunity there for Nip, and it was squandered. The smoke being allowed to rotate into stock is not going to be good for them. However, from above, EZD could easily get the kill onto the smoke if he positions himself correctly. He's not going to get the kill, not yet, but Kamikaze will. Great job to Kamikaze pushing his way over towards the front door. And Psycho will take out GCR. Psycho gets another onto Revolts before Kamikaze at the front door finally gets shut down by FK1. But look at this. FK being lit up by PZD. Spawn's able to do some damage at the very long range there. But from behind, you can see Psycho on a tear. PZD will get the final kill, and that's it. The game's over. GG 6-2. Ninjas in pajamas.
Slow start with 2 Rios, but a strong finish, 6-2 as you said. 2 rounds not even needing to be played. Unfortunately for Pain, that does put them more in danger of a possible relegation. Now, they thought maybe they were in an okay position being middle of the pack, but there isn't really much of a middle in Latin America at the moment. Now they're going to be the ones in Nip's position potentially.
If I'm not mistaken, Pain started the day at 15 points. And technically that means that I believe they're within range of those bottom spots. Yeah. So they're also fighting for something here, and it's unlikely that they're going to sink that low. Very unlikely. Yeah. But also possible, especially considering Nip just got a win. So that is going to take Nip out of either of the relegation spots. They will be very comfortable. At least I believe it will. It will at least take them out of the 8th spot. That much we know. Now Black Dragons are going to sink down to that 8th position, and they will be in the auto relegation.
I swear, I'm just going to write an AI to figure all this out, because it gets so complicated, especially towards the end. But either way, though, Nip being potentially safe, I think, is an exciting thing for Nip fans out there, which there are many. Because this has not been a great season for them, to see their team able to at least make it to the next one is a good thing, because that's plenty of time to figure things out.
We have to say, though, Nip really needed to win that match if they had any hopes of staying alive in this moving into next season, because their last match of the season is going to be against Immortals, which is a tall task. Immortals have been playing really well so far. They did win the previous match against Nip, so good job to Nip managing to get the win here, and we'll see how they do next week. But before then, we have 2 more matches for Latin America. Liquid FaZe up next, a very anticipated match for today, and we'll have that right after this break.
Stylish on the outside, savage on the inside. Legion by Lenovo.
Welcome back to the second half of Latin American Playday number 13. First half of today was all about who may or may not be getting relegated. Second half is all about who may or may not be going to land. So this should be extra interesting here, these next two matches.
Yeah, so we've got Liquid versus FaZe coming right up. Probably one of the most anticipated matches of this second half of the season.
Should be a heater.
Yeah, it certainly should. It should be a bar burner. It should be exciting. We've seen FaZe, I think, doing a lot better so far in the second half of the season. Liquid, on the other hand, have been struggling just a little bit.
At least not a complete reversal.
Yeah, kind of a complete reversal of the first half. And a little bit confusing in the way it played out. Let's bring up the Liquid roster, and we'll talk about their track record in recent history. Bullet Nest, Sexy Cake, Zig, and PSK. So just last week, they drew against Black Dragons, who just lost to T1.
Yeah, how do you draw against the team that's at the very bottom at the moment?
Yeah, I'm not really sure. They've been struggling, like we talked about. They lost to Ninja Pajamas before that. Before that, they lost to Pain. They got a win against Immortals, which seems kind of crazy considering that's their closest competition right now. And then even before that, the first week of the second half of the season, losing to Boot Camp. So right now, Liquid have been struggling quite a bit.
And this is the only Latin American team to win finals.
Yeah, so a lot on their shoulders, but not a lot to show for it so far. They've been really riding off of their wins in the first half of the season, but their opponents, on the other hand, FaZe Clan, Astromav, Moringa, Cameraman, and Yuna, they have been on an absolute tear so far.
I want to credit some of that to picking up Yuna.
You could say. I mean, 7 wins in a row, though. No matter how you look at it, you know, one roster change or not. I mean,
I feel bad for Gohan.
Well,
I mean, you leave the team and then it's like all wins from there.
So, you know, of course, that was, I believe, in the mid-season transition.
Yeah.
So that is, you know, after picking up Yuna, FaZe Clan, 5 wins in a row. Before that, though, even if you count the first half of the season, that's 7 wins in a row, and they've got even more than they've got 9 wins total.
Yeah,
which is insanely high. They've only lost 2 matches, and it was against T1 and Boot Camp way earlier in the season. This is a 6-month season. That was like month 1 and 2.
Yeah.
And then they had a draw week 1 against Immortals. So
if you remember what the standings were, it was FaZe, Immortals, Liquid, if I remember correctly. So this is about FaZe potentially shutting Liquid out of the finals and facing off against Immortals instead. So to go from winning last season's finals to being shut out that's a tough spot to be in.
And it looks like that's what's gonna happen, considering how dominant FaZe has been in their recent matches and how lackluster Liquid has been.
Well, I think there's some that would, say that it's when Nesk is on, they do great. When Nesk gets shut down, they don't. I mean, I don't think it's all that, but I mean, there's definitely sometimes something like that seems to be a factor.
It seems easy to say it in this scenario because obviously Liquid hasn't been performing, but you just can't rely on one player.
Absolutely not. And it's the case where, we had the change up from FaZe, seemed to work for them. No real changes from Liquid, but it's not a bad thing. It's just doesn't seem to be working out so great. They had such a strong start to the season too. They were just dominant. They were looking like the way the G2 looked at the very beginning, and just fell off from there.
So, Mad Bants, where do we get to play? About to find out. As you can see, Liquid banning first, FaZe banning second, Bank and Consulate, the 2 automatic bans as they were played in the previous play week by these teams.
No Clubhouse for the second time around, so
okay.
There's still a possibility of a repeat of Coastline. Could see some Border Oregon as well. Always Steadfast map. So all 3 of those, I would say, are Steadfast classics at the moment. Villa definitely not going to be part of that, as it's not going to be played. Border shut down. So again, down to Coastline and Oregon here.
I mean, it would be nice to see Oregon since we haven't seen it yet today, but based on what we've been seeing recently, Coastline.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, this should
not a
be
huge surprise.
I mean, these two teams actually have probably played some of the least coastline so far. If I recall correctly, it's only Liquid versus Immortals playing it that one time between these two teams. FaZe has not played it, and Liquid did win that.
Yeah, so you are absolutely correct, sir. FaZe has not played it. Liquid won against Immortals week 2 of the second half of the season, 6-2. So this is potentially a really good situation for Liquid, though, since we haven't not seen FaZe play on this map, we won't know.
And we saw how things went for Pain last matchup, so.
No. So, community vote?
Yeah.
Who's going to win? Why don't you tell us?
This should be a little more contested. This should be a little closer than some of the other ones. In this case, favoring FaZe, and probably rightly so, given their record at the moment. As you mentioned earlier, not just the first half or the second half, but altogether doing very well this season.
Yeah, they certainly have been doing very well, just really shredding through the competition, about as close as you can get to G2 in terms of teams overall in Pro League. They've been really dominating their region. Team Liquid, on the other hand, on and off, and in the second half, oof, not great.
Yeah.
Though the one thing they do have going for them is that their only win in the second half of this season was on Coastline against Immortals, a very formidable team. So now that we're going to Coastline, this could be the exact scenario that Liquid wanted to get a win.
Definitely a possibility, but it does mean, of course, that Liquid have shown, infinitely more in a sense than FaZe, because FaZe have not shown anything on it just yet. But, I imagine there are other factors, scrims, BR6, other things they know about the team. This is not a brand new map. A lot of factors at play here, so it could definitely still go either way, but Liquid at least having some advantage, FaZe also having some as well. So should be a crackerjack of a match here. Interesting between these two. Either way, though, this matchup and the next one definitely should be, in theory, a lot closer than that last match.
Yeah, the one thing that I'm worried about is exactly what you just touched on. The last match we just saw, 6-2 in favor of Ninjas in Pajamas over Pain. I'm worried about that happening here.
Yeah.
Because I feel like it's a real possibility. The confusing, the thing that throws it into out of whack, where you would see typically Liquid versus FaZe, and you'd think, wow, that's going to be a crazy good close match. Liquid have just been showing up when you least expect them to, and not showing up when you expect them to. And
so right now they
to.
Probably shouldn't show up according to that then.
Yeah, well, kind of.
I guess you could look at it either way.
It's on and off.
Yeah.
Liquid comes into these play days sometimes, and they're formidable, and they're doing well, and it seems like nobody can stop them. Like the match they had against Immortals, 6-2. That was week 2, second half. That was great. That looked fantastic for them. Even their draw against Black Dragons, they, at least they drew, but they shouldn't have drawn Black Dragons by all conventional wisdom, and that's the confusing thing.
Here's the thing that worries me too as well, is that Liquid's going to be starting on defense. Now, depending on how the operator bans go, if Mira is banned, that definitely favors FaZe. Of course, the opposite could be said for the opposite. So, depending on how those go down, we could see FaZe start out with at least a 3-2 lead going into the second half, and FaZe have just been more consistent. So this is, again, I'm still leaning more towards FaZe for a variety of factors here.
I'm certainly leaning towards FaZe as well. I think the reason that we're going to be going for that, right, for me, is because of the inconsistency that Liquid has been showing us so far this season. You can't back that. You can't be like, oh hey, they are on and off, and yeah, sure, they're going to win this match. What we can say with absolute certainty is that Liquid has what it takes, and if they show up today, if they really come to bat, then this could be an excellent match. It could go all the way to the last round for all we know. But
ideally, I'd like to see it go to a 5-5.
I don't know if I want to see. I don't know what I want to see. I would like to see a 6-4.
I want to see a good match. I think we're both in agreement on that.
Yeah, we both want to see a good match. We want to see all 10 rounds played, that's for sure. But the thing that is lurking in the back of my mind, again, I'll bring it up, is Liquid has not been showing up in these situations recently.
Yeah. Well, either way, we can hope it's not a shutout in a situation where FaZe just ends up as 6-2. Unfortunately, it seems like one of the players is still having trouble getting in, so it may take a little bit longer here. But it should be very interesting once it gets started. Hopefully we don't get another situation like last matchup where we have a couple rehosts early on. But either way, that seemed like it was an internet connection issue and seemed to have been resolved. So hopefully nothing along those lines. It's be out of here?
Yeah, well, we'll get everybody in as soon as we can. In the meantime, the stakes here, as we touched on, is really, I think most of it's for Liquid. Liquid are the ones that need to get this win right now. They're still in the running for LAN, if I'm not mistaken. They can still beat out Immortals, who are currently in 2nd place. Liquid are currently in 3rd. Though it's a tall task. And I don't know if they're going to be able to pull it off, considering the mountain they've got in front of them.
Yeah. It's definitely going to have to be an on day for them to even make sure that they get at least that tie for that 1 point, because getting a 0 definitely makes it that much more difficult. They're going to have to hope Immortals match goes badly next for them, and it's just...
And Immortals are playing against Boot Camp in the next match, who has...
Speaking of inconsistent.
Yeah, speaking of inconsistent, they haven't really been having the best season as of late either. They've just lost, draw, lost the last 4 matches. They did manage to beat Liquid 6-1 in the first match of the second half of the season. But
inconsistent team versus inconsistent team.
Exactly.
But that's most of the Latin American standings so far.
But Immortals haven't been well, okay, they've been a little on and off, but they've been they're on the brighter side of that, and they are looking like they're going to be one of the main, well, they already are one of the main contenders for that 2nd spot. Yeah. But they certainly look like they're capable of locking it out. On the other hand, I don't know if Liquid can really secure that. That's going to be tough.
I feel like there's been so many on the other hands at this point. It's like, just flip a coin at this point.
It really does feel that way sometimes. Not necessarily because of the nature of the points, but more because of the nature of the teams.
Yeah.
I mean, convention. If I step back and measure this between FaZe and Liquid, again, I think that this would be a close match. But then if you look at the tendencies of Liquid,
yeah,
it could just be a blowout. We don't know.
Well, watch it end up being a 6-0 in Liquid's favor. I mean, it's just like,
that would
what
be a shame.
Just happened? Yeah.
That would be a shame.
All I know, though, is I expect a lot from Liquid and FaZe, but I've been impressed by Boot Camp not Boot Camp, but Immortals this season, and I think that's been more of the surprise than these two being on top.
Yeah, Immortals has been having a really a better than usual season, and it's cool to see a team really stepping up like that. I look forward to their future. They are going to be playing against BK next, and then next week they will play against Ninjas in Pajamas. So those are some really interesting and exciting matches for them. But yeah, will they be the ones to take away that spot from FaZe? Or rather, not FaZe, Liquid. Yeah. No, it doesn't seem like anybody's going to be stopping FaZe right now. But Liquid are certainly still in the running.
So you'd say they're probably unfazed at the moment. Either way, though, it should be interesting.
Yeah.
As you said. So FaZe in a much more comfortable position, should be able to play more comfortably. And speaking of mentalities and teams and stuff like that, Liquid were the team that famously were just playing for fun at Atlantic City.
Yeah.
And managed to finally topple a team like G2. They're not as much in the fun position right now as FaZe is.
You know, you say that, and I'm reminded of a cautionary tale that's ENCE. Liquid playing for fun in the most recent season finals, and they got the win. ENCE played for fun in Sao Paulo and managed to get the win, and then they got relegated the next season. So
you never know.
You never know.
Well, either way, speaking of you never know, break time as we try and get this sorted out so we can get this match going.
Stylish on the outside, savage on the inside. Legion by Lenovo.
Welcome back, and luckily we have all 10 players in, and hopefully rearing to go here. So a little bit of a slow start, much like the last match, but hopefully once we get going here, should get cracking, and as we said, should be a very, very interesting match between these two once we get going.
Yeah, we're just waiting for everything to be ready before we press the start button and load into Coastline.
Because it's us that presses it, right?
Yeah, we have a big old button underneath this desk that we just press and the game starts like that. Oh boy. Could you imagine?
I can't imagine because back in the day, for those of you who remember when Panky was here,
yeah,
he was the one pressing the start button. There was the
like
infamous Panky start.
Yeah,
he
had an actual... That was a long time ago.
Certainly was.
All right, FaZe versus Liquid. Coastline. FaZe starting on attack. Liquid on defense. Liquid will start with the bans, and they will get rid of already, I'm guessing, I'm going to say Lion.
Definitely a strong possibility, but Buck.
Whoa!
This is only the second Buck ban, I believe, we've seen, because we saw one on NA Monday, which was certainly interesting as well, or Tuesday, depending on where you live.
That is quite interesting. You don't see that, man.
You certainly don't. There goes the ever-reliable Lion ban.
Yeah.
But vertical play going to be a little more interesting. I mean, of course, you still have Sledge to work downwards, but upwards,
not really an option.
That means top floor bomb site's slightly stronger now.
I mean, you've got substitutes for the Buck, but
yeah,
no one's going to be quite as useful as Buck at what he does. Mira taken out as well, so the very standard bans there from FaZe.
We're not going to get the Echo ban, though, so that means he's still going to be in play, but it means a lot less outside cams, things like that. No cheeky peeks from those, at least. Something we do occasionally see from some teams.
These are hyper-specific bans from Liquid. Buck and Valk are going to be targeting FaZe very directly.
Yeah, whereas FaZes are fairly generic bans.
Yeah, the Lion and the Mira are about as predictable as it gets. Another point of interest is... we just saw a teased Montaigne and a teased Fuse. I wonder,
like a slot machine with the choosing there.
Are they going to six-pick into one of them? What's going on here? Were they just yanking our chains? We will see Castle instead of Pulse from Liquid, which is a bit of an oddity, though I'm sure they're anticipating... The reason you're going to bring Pulse and the six-pick off of them is to bait out a six-pick into an IQ, but it does not seem that FaZe are actually keen to do that.
Nope, they're going to stick with what they got. One interesting aspect, though, is, yeah, they don't have the Buck, but in theory, you can somewhat play Jackal similarly, just without the grenades and instead going with smokes. So that is a possibility. I mean, the ITA not quite as effective as the Skeleton Key, but still it gives you some possibility to play from that downward to upward direction.
Yeah. The smokes will be useful when you combine them with the glass. So no matter what, you're still getting a decent chunk of utility. Just it's kind of shifted.
Yeah. Well, we will see a lot of firepower in terms of operators coming out from the attacker side. Defender side, mixed bag utility. Surprising they don't want to bring the Echo when he is available. Instead, bringing a Doc. That seems like an odd choice for me, given that I would think Zig would be a fairly effective Echo player. But instead of playing the Doc, I mean, he could potentially be using it to fight. There are quite a few long angles upstairs to fight.
I gotta say, I'm with you 100%. If you have Echo available, play Echo. But looks like Liquid just favoring HP over utility, which, you know, it could work, I guess, but it does seem like a kind of a little bit of a waste, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see as the round plays out, but definitely going to be, I think, in terms of operator lineups right now, advantage to FaZe. This is with the way the bans went down.
I mean, I don't know if I would ever give an maybe, yeah, I mean, it's really hard to say.
I mean, it's how you play them, obviously, but still, it's just, I feel like this is a very strong attack lineup.
Sure, yeah, absolutely. For this situation, it definitely is. The setup from Liquid is also pretty solid, though. I mean, that barbed wire on the blue stairs is going to give a good position. the castle. I want to know where the barricades were. We did see one barricade destroyed. Oh, he could see the face mask, but he cannot land the shot. It's not a hitbox, so he's waiting for his opportunity. Moringa, so patient right now.
Yeah, do not give that away early because you want him to move into that position. Looks like he's on, you know, probably just a camera.
I'm sure he could probably actually land that shot if he just
trying.
angles it right, but no, the opportunity is lost.
Ooh. Looks like we had some serious damage going to Bullet in the meantime, though. He does manage to get reset, so that is good for him. But, or no, not rather reset, but Zig on the dock actually definitely getting some use of that. And unfortunately, the peak there coming out from the Jackal, absolutely punished by Yunnan Glass.
What a shot from Sexy Cake, though. We didn't get to see it, but through the bars on Repel, Yuna goes down. That is impressive, and it is one of the most important kills that could happen in this round. The Glass no longer in play, but Astro with an excellent double kill, pushing out a VIP, coming up on the flank of both Zig and PSK. Sexy Cake trying to play the long angle from inside of B, and he will get his second kill of this round. Seemingly the standout performer for the defense right now. Nesk, his teammate, one of the more known names in Latin America, still inside of Aquarium, and he's in a very important position. He's being pressured from the A window as well as the Aquarium balcony, though, so it's not an easy hold for him. Mav trying to take up residence in the hallway, where we saw Astro get that excellent double kill. And he's going to confront Sexy Cake. This is a difficult fight to take. Sexy goes through the spray through the wall, and he's going to do some damage, but not enough to get a kill. Camera will take out Nesk, so it's going to need to be an ace for Sexy if Liquid want to take the round. Smokes to try and cut off visual to the Maestro. Not overly successful. The Twitch allowed to make a rotation, but Mav will land the shot as Sexy makes his push. The rotation cut off by FaZe.
Definitely great play there by Sexy Cake. Unfortunately, Nesk just wasn't able to hold his own in the situation, despite having the benefit of the castle barricades. But it was a lot of them pushing into each other at the beginning there. Great play, though, with the angle in terms of the hallway by Sexy Cake and just taking advantage of spraying and strafing situation where usually we don't want to deal with horizontal recoil, but because he was already at head height, he actually made it a very good chance he was going to land one of those headshots. So definitely working out for them. Hookah, unfortunately, just not the successful one this time, but Clash has actually been banned the previous two matches and is not this time. So Sexy Cake, ever the one to always play the new operators, is definitely going to do so here unless he 6-picks off of it for Penthouse, which is, I think, an interesting site for it. Pulse is going to be, again, 6-picked off to the castle from PSK1. May or may not fall for that, but same attack lineup regardless.
Clash left unbanned for the first time today. She was banned in T1 versus BD and Pain versus Nip. So, interesting to see her played here. We've seen a lot of Clash play on Coastline, and it hit or miss, really. I think it comes down to how a team chooses to use her.
Yeah.
A lot of the ways we've been seeing her use, or one of the ways we've been seeing her use, rather, is aggressively try and slow down, you know, around the site on the push in, and usually what happens there is the attackers will pinch the Clash in that situation and kill her as quickly as possible.
Well, there are some balance changes being tested off and on the test server that do kind of reduce the strength a bit, so might as well exploit it while you can.
Pray tell.
Well, there are some situations where they are trying to reduce the effect of the stun in terms of how long it takes to recover from it, as well as how long it takes to recharge fully from it.
Interesting.
As well as, I believe there was one more change, I'm trying to recall what it was now, but either way, they are definitely making it slightly less effective, so if you know that's coming, might as well play it while you can if you feel it's strong for you.
Astro, unfortunately missing his drone, though it was based on something that is, I guess, a little bit odd to account for. That castle barricade rim, it's a little bit of an extension that normal barricades don't have. So, fair enough, fair enough.
Yeah.
I don't get it. It's just a little bit of wasted time. Though,
speaking of wasted time,
yeah, Clash over here trying to deny the push under the north balcony. Good operator to do so, and he will be calling for his teammate right behind him, that's Bullet, looking for the fights.
A lot of pressure on these windows, a lot of repels happening. I'm just waiting for the run out to happen here at some point, but they're all upstairs.
Noticeable lack of ADSs there just inside the B window. That's very dangerous. to allow yourself to lose that much utility early on.
Yeah, that's definitely going to be a tough spot. And Jackal tracking down, I believe that's the castle there.
Yeah.
PSK1 just hanging out. He's been marked as well by pings from Astro. They're just waiting for the right time to stun him, as he does have 2 stuns left, but Zig with the first kill there onto Astro.
PSK going to eat a lot of damage from the Ash charges, and he will stand up and die.
No.
Moringa also gets Bullet. That is a confusing play from PSK. We didn't see what happened with Bullet, but it's still a kill inside of VIP. And that's going to put in Liquid in a bad spot. Zig gets his 2nd kill onto Yuna. And Sexy Cake will assist in the downing of Moringa and finally finish him off. Sexy with a 3rd, or rather Zig with a 3rd, as Camera starts his vault in through the B window. He will be spotted and called out. A nice peek, but not nice enough, as Zig gets a 4K. And Liquid win the round off the backs of this dog.
Yeah, I'm not sure about the utility, but he's certainly winning the gunfights there and being able to play off of that deployable shield. And that is one thing we were talking about earlier with the Maestro, is when you combine an ACOG with a deployable shield, it becomes very effective for the defenders, and that was a good demonstration of that. Unfortunately, putting a lot of eggs in the rappelling on the balcony and the window basket, absolutely not working out there.
Yeah.
For FaZe.
The entire strategy there for Liquid was just to get aggressive on north balcony and the main site window, and it worked.
Especially when you can have a Clash peek.
Yeah, the Clash does a lot of work over by that north balcony. I'm confused a little bit by how PSK chose to play that as the castle, eating 2 Ash charges and standing up. The reason it's so confusing, normally I'd say, yeah, sure, you know, try and get out of your situation, whatever. The reason it's so confusing is because there's a dock on your team. You can just get stepped up
right?
and chill there, man. Just be patient. You don't need to rush yourself. I guess he probably thought he was being ashed from below. If there's an ash below you, your position is compromised. You have
Fair
to move.
point.
But
I mean, they absolutely knew he was there. I think that was very
well,
clear.
yeah,
He was being
but
Jackal tracked. He probably thought, yeah, if you're being Jackal tracked, you're going to think that Ash Charge is coming from below. That does make a lot of sense.
fair thought process, though incorrect in this instance.
Well, either way, it's tied up,
Yep.
as it should be from the way things have gone down so far.
And we are going to be seeing a hookah billiards defense once more from Liquid. Last time they went here, it was thanks to a nice push from Astro, as well as the rest of FaZe pushing in through Aqua, that allowed for the take to be successful for FaZe Clan.
Yeah, I mean, mostly the same operators coming out from both sides for the most part on this defense. So we'll see if things shake down the same way again. This is going to be playing on the Legion. I don't think he was on that last time. I believe he might have been Bandit. So we'll see if the Legion works out a little bit better for him. Might be able to use that to kind of slow them down and give himself some more positioning power in his gunfights as well. They do have, again, the Castle being 6th pick to, again, from PSK. Surprising no one. He did tease the Echo, I believe it was, though, and I think that probably would have been a little more effective in the Castle, but I understand the strategy of trying to deny a lot of angles to give them more movement within the site. But interesting because you usually see it on this door. The
Castle has thus far proven useful in wasting soft destruction for the attack. And I think FaZe is bringing an abundance of soft destruction because of that. They're bringing the Ashe and the Zofia because they know, hey, castle barricades, they're a thing, and they will be used by our opponents.
At the moment, Glass can still shoot through them as well, which is something they were testing, I believe, removing on the test server as well.
We'll see if that change moves forward in the future, though it's still pretty far out.
Yeah.
Now, Astro's going to set up a drone on his flank, and he will likely start his push into Aquarium once he's got support from his teammates on the balcony. Though he could push earlier, he doesn't necessarily need to wait. It's better to wait for that crossfire to be established. White Peak, but he's not reading the situation properly, and Nesk will take down a very easy kill onto Astro.
Way too much concern about the camera.
Certainly. A confusing peak for Astro, and that's just a man lost early on, and a lot of utility no longer available because the lifeline's not in play.
We were talking about the Ash charges from below, and you saw there was a Jackal ping and then a floor open there. It could have been a situation where they tried to catch that Jaeger, doing exactly what we were talking about for the castle before. But either way, at least they've got him locked down, and that's Bullet, who is a very strong fragger, so of course they are going to drone and find out what they already knew, that Nesk is hiding in that corner with, again, a deployable shield, which didn't work out too well for him the previous time, but seems to be working for him okay right now, as they've wasted a lot of the ability to take out that shield.
Smoke grenades going down, and Yuna can now free peek into Nest, but he's likely to eat a Legion Trap, and there it is. He really just needs to commit, though. There's not enough time to dance around this shield. Mav is eating damage from Legion Traps and Impact Grenades. This is not a great scenario. Zig will take out one before Yuna, an excellent one-tap between the corner of the shield and the wall. But still, FaZe are in a bad spot with Mav on such low HP. Camera going to make it a little bit easier for FaZe as he takes out Sexy Cake on the flank. Yuna going for the full commit of the push. Thanks to the smoke, he will see one, doesn't see the other for some reason, and will try to flick, but fail ultimately. And Zig landing his shots will get another before PSK finally finishes off Mav. A truly confusing round and attack from FaZe results in Liquid getting themselves 2 rounds in a row.
I know it's easy to say this from the seat, but there was a lot of opportunities where we saw them see the defender and just not read into it. You saw it first when Nesk was able to get the free kill, and then when the glass pushed around the corner, I mean, I know he was hyper-focused on trying to angle around that corner and absolutely did so, but not noticing the big yellow streak underneath the couch as he walked around the corner definitely cost him his life. It could have been an easy free kill for him at that point.
Yeah, sometimes, you know, when you miss an opponent, you can look back on it and say, oh yeah, sure, I understand that. But it's you're playing glass. He's yellow. You're playing glass. You saw him under the couch.
It is one situation where it is literally highlighted for you.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons that Glass is such a good operator. It's hard to miss your opponent, but I guess the the many bright colors that are in that corner were probably what obscured the yellowness of the scope.
At least he got 2 kills leading up to that.
Yeah, he did do work. You gotta hand it to Yuna, but it wasn't enough.
No, unfortunately. We do have some shakeups though on defense, though. Sexy Cake teasing the clash again, but switching to the mute, and then Nesk again switching up to the alibi, and Zig doing what I was suggesting he did the first few rounds of being the Echo, but honestly at this point, starting to feel for his dock play.
Yeah, the dock play from Zig has been excellent. You can see he's top fragging right now in the match. 7 kills, one of the main driving forces for Liquid. And I'm on the same boat as you, man. I was like, oh, why not have an Echo? And now he's been performing so well with Doc. It's like, oh no, he doesn't have a Doc. I get why they would rotate on Echo for this site, though, if any, because you need to deny that plant by the default spot.
To be fair, though, either way you get an MP5 with the ACOG.
Yeah.
And in this case, you get more utility.
Just a different variation.
Although it looks like he goes with the Supernova and the Bearing 9 instead. So
I guess not a different variation. They're just all right.
Hey,
keeping us on our toes.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Sexy Cake able to deny drones with both the mute jammers and his bullets is going to be pretty much trying to make this roam work. He does not have a C4 though. He has a bulletproof camera, which has already been placed up. So hopefully that will work out in combination with the Yokai drones to be able to make sure that they have some idea where the attack's coming from. Astro, the one to potentially push this, but he could have backup from Bullet inside Kitchen.
You can see some little skirmishes here and there between the attack and the defense, but nothing actually fully committed by either teams just yet. Astro is aware of his opponents inside of Kitchen, but he's unsure how he wants to address this. The pre-fire comes through, and he narrowly misses some shots there. That could have been the right angle, but he didn't commit himself to it. Mav gonna lay down some bolts already. Looks like it's gonna be a rush into the A-bomb site. The fuse plant's going down from Moringa right now. PSK not aware of this. There's no C4, no gas canister sailing out. They seem to be ignoring this willfully. The Yokai drones don't even do any work. PSK will take down Moringa, and Sexy gets a camera, but the damage is done. The diffuser is planted, and now the cover is in. Will it be enough is the question. There is a good amount of utility here for the defense to retake this. Mav gets a double kill as the defenders attempt to force themselves on the attack outside. Astro will take out PSK as well. Yuna charged with holding the diffuser fast. He's doing just that. He will down one and finish off Zig. It's all up to Bullet, who takes down Astro. He peeks wide and tries to take out Mav, but cannot land the shots. It's looking worse and worse, and Mav will get the final kill. FaZe take the round off of a simple push into the blue bar.
What a great opportunity read by FaZe. They saw the opportunity was there. There wasn't the angle to be played from the bar into the blue bar, and just a minute 15 into the round planting. And it wasn't even the kind of approach where you'd say, oh, this was a rush plant. It was just like, well, they're just going to let us in here, so hey, let's come on in.
Hey guys, they're not defending bar.
Yeah.
Let's plant the diffuser.
Yeah. I mean, it's typical for the teams to be able to play outside blue bar, but often they have a rotate in a position where they're going to see that, and they were focused a little bit more on having the intel to make the call on that they just did not have. So we'll see how Penthouse goes down this time. Now they won it last time as well as Hookah. So far, bar is the only thing they have lost. There again with the 6th pick onto the castle. This time, Sexy Cake not going to tease it. He's going to go with it again. As you mentioned before, it worked out fairly well last time in terms of the way they were playing against both the window and the balcony, but I would imagine FaZe would learn from that and maybe not push the same way this time.
I would imagine the same, or at least bring a solution to the problem. It did all go wrong for FaZe last time. You know, as much as Liquid played it well, their setup was good. FaZe just had a slew of mistakes on their end, and also got just unlucky as well. Liquid played it really well, just pushing their way into their opponents, knowing that they can push the issue, hold that north balcony, hold that window on the east, and they did.
Yeah. Well, on the upside, they did bring something to counter the Clash this time on the Capitao, which is the one strong counter at the moment, although it still depends on a little bit of skill to be able to pull that off as well as timing. And Sexy Cake, I got to imagine, somewhat adept at least being able to move around comfortably. So it's going to definitely come down to, I think, some coordination from FaZe if they want to take him down. But he's actually going to peek a little bit early. A little bit of risky play. But hey, if he takes some damage, Zig is there to heal him up if need be.
Yeah, the Doc being actually very useful for Team Liquid so far. Of course, Zig as an individual being very useful, but his operator of Doc has been also a great influence on the outcome of these rounds. Interesting Evil Eye from Nesk, actually a very powerful position there. Lots of information to be gathered through a simple drone hole.
Yeah, it's such a simplistic way to just deny VIP. Just stand in front of the window with a shield.
Yeah, crazy.
I mean, to be fair, they're not really trying to push around from the other side from the hallway, but at the same time, there may be a bit of a defense there to try and deny that, because of course you have to push through a hallway into a doorway. There's no really working around it. There's no wall you can open to just sneak on in from the other side. So it is tricky, I suppose.
So I know you want to use those Capitao Firebolts to take out the Clash, but we also, I believe, still have PSK playing in that little half-wall position. So there's a potential for a Firebolt there, but it's not going to be necessary. As Astro takes him down, Zig will refrag onto Astro. This is what Zig has been doing every single time somebody repels on that east window. He peeks them and kills them.
I like that strategy. That's something we don't ever really see. Is just opening that wall, putting a deployable shield there, and playing kind of both in between Penthouse and Theater.
And still, Liquid deny VIP and East window. It looks like a very tricky push ahead of FaZe. It hasn't all fallen apart just yet, but it's definitely looking difficult as Jaeger starts to lay some fire through the bathroom wall. Mav not going to eat any of those bullets. Nesk will take out Cameraman, though. Sexy Cake going to lose a lot of visual here. The Capitao bolts are providing excellent cover, but not enough, it seems, to get a defuse plant down in earnest. Yuna is very lit up, and this is not an easy situation for him to play. As the glass, he will die to Zig, who peeks wildly into bathroom. Moringa now the only cover that Mav has, but he was forced to vault out the window, lest he be killed by Sexy Cake, who is simply getting aggressive onto the couch position. Moringa rotating. Now back up to the roof, and Mav is going to have to come all the way up from blue stairs.
On the upside, he has the diffuser, didn't leave it in the room or anything like that, but this is the long way around to really most likely not accomplish anything, and Sexy Cake makes sure of that, doing some damage as well. Now this is the counter here. He has 2 bolts to work with. Does a little, nope, not even a little bit of damage. That is 1 wasted. He has 1 more shot, literally, to try and take that down, but instead rotates.
Yeah, and you can see FaZe know what they're up against, and they're really struggling against Clash. Clash did a number. First of all, the round is over. Second of all, it's because of Clash, and here's why. FaZe seemed keen on going for a VIP take once more. Not necessarily a dedicated VIP take in the sense that they're going to open the wall, because they didn't have the means to do so there, as you can clearly see.
Yeah.
But in that they wanted to use Trophy Hall and Bathroom to allow for a diffuse plan.
Yeah.
You could see all the telltale signs, and those are they drawn out underneath. They're very cautious about repelling on the east window. They're circling the, around the drop down on the roof. They're ready to pounce. They've got the glass. They've got the Capitao. The kit is perfect for that particular attack. The problem was first of all, Zig, who's just peeking and killing like a madman, but that's him being him. But second of all, Clash. The Clash being in the face of his opponents and just not allowing for anything to happen. Every single time the attack wanted to make a push, Clash was there.
Yeah.
And there was nothing the attack had for it.
I would like to see them have some kind of hard breacher. They could have opened up theater just to put some pressure on Zig. So you had to watch. I mean, yeah, he's a deployable shield, so he can face the other way into, to the theater wall. But at the same time, that forces him to look away from where he's doing his most effective work. Maybe it wouldn't have been a big difference, but it certainly would have made it a lot harder for them to hold the angles they were holding.
You know what it is, though? It's that Zig was allowed to peek East window and bathroom door because there was no pressure from Guitar Hall. Why was there no pressure from Guitar Hall?
Clash.
So it was just a good amount of teamwork between the two players to deny angles for each other and gather information for each other, allowing for just a complete lockout. And a very simple one at that. Though that is all said and done.
Yeah, we switched sides.
We moved to the second half, and Liquid are the ones who were victorious in the first.
So some big differences here. We are seeing a Thermite, for example. We are seeing going to be Kitchen, which, much like before, was not played until the second half. So something similar to the first time we saw Coastline today. We are also seeing a Doc and an Echo. So they're doubling down on those ACOGs. I imagine probably actually bringing the ACOG as well instead of the shotgun, but you never know. But hey, you can have two shotguns. They have a smoke, so you don't really need the Supernova, depending on your strat, because the Bearing 9 is a little trickier now. So we will see if that factors in, but they are going to be bringing the Capitao and the Zofia on the attack. Something we saw from the previous attack, so a little bit of shake-up, but not a ton to where it's going to be a totally different game. They are going to be trying to push in to Hookah, it looks like a little bit, to get some control, and eventually towards the penthouse side to be able to open up the floor, in theory, with that sledge to start putting some downward pressure on the Kitchen.
Yeah, they definitely do have the right tools for this. The Buck Band's so confusing. But it seems to have worked out well. And now that Liquid is going over to their attack, they don't seem to have a need for it.
I can see the Buck Ban against FaZe. Ooh, there we go. Nice kill by Cameraman. In that, it left Zig able to play his position, and he couldn't pressure him from below. And same with even maybe the Clash, for example.
I would say that, but I mean, they were bringing Ashe and Zofia. The utility loss is not massive there.
It's
if you have specific locations that you want open, based on information that you're gathering, like, hey, they're playing behind half wall, hey, Zig is playing this spot, then just open the main lobby door and Ashe him from below.
Well, we'll tell him in Rio.
Yeah, I mean, if, yeah, we will, I guess, yeah.
Either way, though, it is only 3-2 advantage here for Liquid, but we were talking earlier about how this favored FaZe. So far, it's favoring Liquid slightly, but then again, some of the operator bans do somewhat favor the attacker side of here, so it's not a huge surprise.
Yeah. Liquid seemingly keen to push their way into Kitchen. Doesn't seem like there's much in the way of defense right now to hold this. The Kitchen wall is open, so it looks like what we're seeing right now is a FaZe hold from off-site. Now, this is an older strategy that you don't see very much, but it is certainly viable. They haven't opened all of the Kitchen wall, just some of it, but still enough to play it from off-site. See the gas canisters delaying this push quite a bit to start things off. Since the Capitao is gone, it's already quite a lot of tools lost for the attack. And a nice angle here from Mav. Cameraman as well, able to take down Zig. Nesk will get the first kill for his team, but it doesn't seem to matter as the rest of Liquid simply falls apart. And FaZe take the first round of the second half.
Excellently done. That ties it up. I realized earlier I said attacker side, not realizing it was already switched around. But yeah, it definitely has been working out for the defense quite a bit. We had 2 Penthouse defenses successful, a Hookah defense successful, one that failed, and then now Kitchen successful as well. So every bomb site seeming to find some success outside of Bar, which they're going to now. So this is where FaZe need to change things up a little bit so they can finally get a point lead here. See if they can manage to make that work, because so far they've just been behind every time, trailing it up. Interesting that Mav is going to go with Rook instead of Doc, even though he was just on Doc.
Took the words right out of my mouth.
Weird choices, but you know, there's absolutely logic behind them. It's not just random.
Echo's also, sorry, yeah, Echo's also still in play.
Oh.
Clash will be 6 picked into out of a Alibi. We're also going to see IQ instead of Sledge. So that's good that the Echo isn't here, because IQ is the hardest counter to an Yokai drone from Echo. the Clash is likely going to be a huge influence on this round if Astro is able to play her correctly. The reason we saw Clash be useful for Liquid when they were on defense was Penthouse specifically. The way that they were trying to hold Penthouse, denying the North Balcony, and then the East window was a great strategy, and it allowed for Zig to be aggressive. I don't know what the plan is for Astro. I think the tricky part with Clash is that if you just bring a Clash and it's aimless, then it's a bad operator pick.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely a case where there is some opportunity to be flexible with it in terms of you are on an operator that can potentially move around somewhat.
But there needs to be a plan in place.
Certainly. I mean, you move slow as well, so.
Yeah, we've seen teams bring Clash just to bring Clash and seen it fall flat on its face. So
well, it makes sense earlier in the season, but
it does. But here we go. We'll see what Astro chooses to do with the operator. We'll see if they have an interesting strategy like what we saw from Liquid on their defensive half.
At least PSK bringing the Capital should make things a little bit harder for Astro, but we did see that not necessarily be a factor against Sexy Cake, who just kind of did what he wanted. And again, they're peeking windows with the Clash, which seems to be a very useful. The range on that thing is just, I mean, you could probably hit Oregon with that from there. It's just nuts.
A very silly gadget indeed. And a lot of damage can be inflicted with it, and a lot of information gathered as well. Just peeking out of that window tells you that you're being attacked right now from the south office. That's all you needed to do, and that's almost nothing.
Yeah, a little bit of stalling out, but at least Nesk managed to get in here and take control of Aqua.
Oh, the timing! No! Nesk! What just happened? Cameraman peeks as Nesk comes off the angle. Camera gets a kill and then falls back. Nesk does nothing. And Mav also able to get a kill. Now Liquid find themselves in a 2 versus 5 as Moringa takes down Bullet. What just transpired?
Lack of confidence.
Possibly Mav will take out Nesk as he attempts to push into the building, and it's all up to PSK, who just narrowly avoids death. He will take Cameraman with him, but a swift death right after.
Well, after the side switch, 2 successful defenses in a row for FaZe, so while they struggled a little bit on the attack, defense seeming to be a much better situation, and now they finally take that point lead.
We got to talk about what we just saw there from Nesk.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't know what it is, but he locked up as soon as he saw his opponent. That wasn't just. I want to say honestly that wasn't just him coming off the angle in the wrong moment. I want to say that was him holding the angle, seeing his opponent coming off of the angle, freezing.
Yeah.
And then his teammate dies next to him, and then he's like, "Oh wait, I gotta hold this."
It's that moment where you pull off, you realize what you just did, and then that throws off everything you're doing because you're suddenly thinking about that instead.
It might be that whatever it was, it does not bode well for him as an individual or for Liquid as a whole.
I feel like, I mean, Nesk is someone known for very high reaction times, and we're seeing somewhat slow ones from even the time he was behind the deployable shield and got the free kill. It was still a little bit of a slow kill with all the time he had to look straight at him.
Yeah.
And it just, again, it makes me wonder if there's some lack of confidence issue going on there. I mean, maybe it's also lack of sleep. He is a new father.
True, true. Well, possibilities abound, and we can't let it distract us from the fact that that wasn't just a simple mistake from Nest that cost Liquid the round.
No.
Everywhere Liquid members were being slaughtered by FaZe. It just seemed like a one-sided affair through and through. So, definitely a team effort for FaZe, and wow, just a complete fall apart for Liquid. Now, we'll be going to Billiards. Hookah is our next site.
Well, so now they're bringing the Doc and the Rook this time. The side of the Rook was good, but letting Moringa take it instead.
3 ACOGs on defense.
Yeah, why didn't they just bring Echo too while they were at it and just peek everything?
Go full 4 ACOGs. You know, that's actually a rarity. You really don't see that very often because almost always either Maestro or Echo is banned.
Yeah, that's a very good point, and that's makes it very difficult to do. Doc and Rook not really getting banned so much, though.
They also don't get played very much.
Very true, but Ying, for the first time in this matchup here, I believe getting played by Nesk for an approach that we've seen many a times into Billiards. Coming in through, there's some barbed wire there he's going to have to deal with first. Might get some help from Bullet on that. But there's, again, as we've seen before, many defenders here playing it. You're going to have one in the corner, one behind the bar, like we saw earlier, that worked fairly effectively for the teams doing it.
Oof.
But he's picking overly aggressively, and Moringa could cost the defense of this Aqua if he gets felled by peeking the window too often.
Yeah, it is definitely folly to peek Sexy Cake, and he did already eat one bullet from that DMR, as you can see. That's luckily he will think better of it and choose to play this round safe, rightfully so. As it doesn't seem like he's being pressured much from the south, so if he just waits, he might be able to win this round out. Now, as I say that, two attackers position themselves on the south balcony, Capitao being one of them, and Sexy Cake will finish off Moringa as he attempts to rotate from the minibar. The peek from Yuna will, though, take out Nesk, who is trying to hold a passive angle. Good refrag there from the Maestro, and Cameraman going to give Maestro a rotation hole so he can fall back into sight when necessary. Doc still in play means Yuna will be healed up and continue to hold on to that aquarium without a disadvantage of having low HP. The support from Mav, a long angle from the hookah, is going to be extremely useful. But Yuna will fall back and still get a kill, just leaning left and right onto Sexy Cake. Aster also takes out Zig, and PSK peeking now. Oh man, the target is gone, the damage is done, and Yuna will still be fragging out. Doc proving his worth in this round, allowing Yuna to do this much damage, leaving Bullet the last attacker. And he will still be attempting to take Aquarium. It's not going to happen. Cameraman's going to shut him down.
Look at him join his friends there at that point. I like what Sexy Cake was trying to do with the crossfire and the way that worked against the bar. And that's a great idea with the DMR right there. The downside is that does nothing for the person in the corner, the Maestro that they had to deal with. And that...
Yeah, so props to Liquid for having one part of that attack well thought out. But where's the rest of it, though?
Yeah. I mean, it's possible. So let's say you take that guy at the bar out. They could potentially have someone with the utility to either take out the deployable shield or a Capitao to do Firebolt. Try and fast peek that, but that's so risky, especially if they didn't take out the barbed wire yet.
I mean, to be fair, if there's no Legion traps on that doorway, right? I mean, you could one Firebolt behind the blue bar or behind the mini bar inside of Aquarium.
To push the Sexy Cake.
Yeah, and then the next Firebolt behind the shield. And then that opens up the possibilities immensely. And then if you have, you got Sexy Cake on Ruins, you've got one guy in Luggage Hallway, you've got both of those rotations that are going to happen from those two people in those corners cut off. They're dead as soon as they rotate away from the Firebolts. But that's not what happened.
Yeah, and I mean, you could say that's a lot of resources committed to taking Aqua, but that's where everyone pretty much ends up anyways.
Yeah,
so.
Everyone and their mother's team pushes Aquarium these days when
it's a family reunion to see the fish.
It's just the meta, man. What are you gonna do?
What are you gonna do? Well, what they're gonna do if you're Liquid is try and get some points here because you've already lost your chance at winning. You've got to tie at best, which is FaZe slowly at this point trying to lock Liquid out of that LAN event.
Yeah, we got to say, or at least I've got to say, the defensive half for FaZe, oh boy.
Yeah.
So dominant. Not only have they won all of their defenses so far, but just one-sided affairs, to say the least. As soon as FaZe was allowed to set the tempo when they were moved to defense, I know that sounds kind of contradictory. That should be the opposite, right?
Yeah.
Attackers are the ones who get to set the... No. For whatever reason, in this match, the defenders have been setting the tempo, and as soon as FaZe was allowed to do that, they have been absolutely shredding their opponents.
Yeah, and I mean, for both teams, it wasn't necessarily a case of Clash always being exploited. It was always on specific sites, and it always seemed to work. But then it's just, we're seeing a lot of
timing.
Rook.
No, the timing from Ness coming off the angle at the wrong moment. Cameraman takes down Sexy, and Astro will finish off Ness. A crossfire in the main lobby doing damage beyond proportion. Now, Moringa and Yuna able to get their own kills, and Yuna's going to get another one. It's done. That's it. GG. FaZe win 6-3. I don't know what just happened.
We could barely finish thinking about the previous round before FaZe win that one.
Well,
that was the confidence. Steamrolled right on into that one.
We saw again Ness come off of the angle at the worst possible moment, allowing for a complete collapse in the main lobby. Because of that, his teammates and himself were just enveloped. Main lobby, eliminated. When the main lobby push was taken down, the delivery push was also shut out because it was a shift of focus, very easy to achieve from FaZe. More importantly, though, what was that push from Liquid? Let's rush through delivery and main lobby? No, don't do that.
If you're not a match point, maybe.
Don't do that.
If it's the first attack round, maybe.
Maybe, but no, don't do that on match point.
Yeah.
It's 6-3. What?
I gotta say, though, I wonder if that match set a record for most dock rounds.
Maybe. I mean,
I think it was
in this
8 out of
season,
9.
maybe. In this season, maybe. But,
Yeah.
you know, I remember,
It was a lot.
remember back when there was still Xbox Pro League and we had Doc Rook meta?
Yeah,
Everybody,
that's true.
Every team played Doc and Rook. It was just a thing. Doc, Rook, Bandit, Jaeger. That was your lineup.
Certainly.
Remember when you could have a full 5-man ACOG lineup on defense?
I'm to be honest, when I'm on attack, I'm very glad that that doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
Either way, though, that is FaZe continuing their streak here at the top.
Sorry, I got sidetracked there, but yeah. FaZe absolute dominance. Liquid, they really, really needed that win. Now, of course, they still, if I'm not mistaken, they still have a chance, but their chance at making it to LAN is now contingent on Immortals playing poorly in this match coming up and their next week's match.
So we may have a better idea after this break when we see how Immortals play.
Defender has left the area of operation.
Stylish on the outside. Savage on the inside. Legion by Lenovo.
Welcome back for the fourth and final match of the second to last play day of Latin America. Michael Kickstar Stockley still here, as well as myself, Devin Emzo Becker.
We are still here.
Yeah, for I think an exciting last match. Definitely the last one leaned towards FaZe more than it looked like it was going to, but definitely was FaZe at the end, which is what we thought it would most likely end up being, just based off how things have gone so far. This one, however, should be even more favored towards Immortals up against Boot Camp.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, anything goes, but Immortals have been definitely far more consistent, I would say, than Boot Camp, but not enough to be #1 like FaZe.
Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, I think Immortals also won this last matchup against Boot Camp the last time these teams met. So definitely one. They're looking strong, and they've been playing better in the second half as well. We'll start with the rosters though before we get into any of that theory crafting. Boot Camp up on your screen. Duds intact. Bor, M King, and Paula.
Paula having worked out, being one of the last members to join, but Bor has been shifting in and out with another player over time here, and it's just maybe they're struggling with some rosters. Not sure what the exact reasoning is behind it.
Okay, so Boot Camp's history throughout this season. First half, all over the place. Losses, wins, and no draws, surprisingly, but they managed to get 3 wins out of that first half. Second half starts off with a bang, 6-1 victory against Liquid, and we're thinking to ourselves, wow, Boot Camp, what's going on with you? That's crazy. That's exciting. And then they lost to FaZe, which, you could say expected. FaZe is the powerhouse of LATAM right now. A draw against T1, lost against Black Dragons, lost against NIP. It's just not been looking good for them in the second half.
No. Well, let's take a look at Immortals. Talk about them for a second. Diego, Navi's, Cyber1, and Yuke, who have been somewhat the dark horse the season they came in. I mean, expected to do well, but have been doing significantly better than we would have anticipated.
Yeah, so they've managed to lose in the second half. They lost 2 matches. 1 to FaZe, 1 to Liquid, but they also have got 2 wins against BD and T1 and a draw against Pain in their most recent match. So they're looking pretty good in this second half. They're looking very strong and better than they had even in the first half, where they were still looking good. They were looking like, as you said, better than people, I think, expected them to.
And between this matchup and the one they have next week, they're looking fairly good at that second place, especially after that loss by Liquid just then. So FaZe just may have really helped Immortals come join them in Rio. Let's take a look at where we'll actually be playing as far as the map goes, though.
Yeah, we'll see it pop up on your screen right now. So far today we've seen Coastline, Clubhouse, and Coastline. And Bank and Oregon are gone, so those are 2 of the maps that we would see a little bit different, not going to be an option. Clubhouse gone, so no repeat of that. We'll see what the bands continue to play out. Consulate already, Villa, not surprising.
Still definitely a strong possibility for Border, but Coastline has actually not been played excessively by this region, so they're going to definitely make up for that today.
All right.
So, well...
Coastline it is.
Well, as you mentioned earlier, these 2 teams fought before, and Immortals came out victorious, and much like a similar earlier match, this is, again, the same map that they played previously. So this should be an interesting, again, revenge match, which definitely favors Immortals here, who also have a good track record on it versus Boot Camp, who have not a good track record. Obviously lost it to Immortals in that matchup before, as well as losing it to Black Dragons in a 4-6 to favor them. And then Immortals, much better record on this. They have beat Liquid on it. Or no, they lost Liquid on it, which we mentioned earlier, but then they also beat T1 and Boot Camp on it. So let's take a look at what you guys think. See who you think is going to win this. I got to imagine this is going to lean towards Immortals, but you never know. There we go. Fairly heavily so, although there's a decent amount of draw factor despite how you mentioned Boot Camp have yet to draw. So no one playing the odds in that sense.
If I'm not mistaken, I said in the first half they hadn't drawn. They did draw 1 match against T1 in the second half, their 3rd match of the second half.
So possibility then.
But a bit of a rarity. Only 1 draw.
Yeah.
So is a little bit different than most teams. There are other teams that only have one draw. I mean, FaZe has only drawn once. It was their very first match of the season.
What
but
happens when you win most of your matches?
they also only lost twice.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's not exactly something you can compare yourself to.
No. But we'll see. We'll see how this goes down. It obviously favors Immortals. The map favors Immortals. The rematch favors Immortals. But that doesn't mean Boot Camp are anywhere near out of this. They have learned a few things over time. They've gotten, in some ways, better, but just not consistently better. I think they're playing in some ways better than they did last season, and they've been working on what they've been doing, but at the same time, it's just the competition also been stepping it up.
Yeah. So, whatever the case, we're going to load on into Coastline, and this is our third time seeing it today, so we won't be seeing it next week for the final week of this Latin American region.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be fairly Coastline free. We'll see how the bands go down. We have seen some different bands. We saw Buck and Valk, for example, from Liquid, which is definitely different than usual, and Blitz going out. So Immortals just trying to keep it interesting yet again. We talked earlier about how this is the one region that does like to ban Blitz. There are definitely some teams that like to run it. I got to imagine they don't want Boot Camp running it by a particular player, and that is definitely not going to happen now. This is where usually Lion should be next, but there's a possibility that one team decides to just let it hang and see how Lion goes on this map. But this is already a struggle for Roamers as it is, and there it is. So Glass a good one to get off the board, but leaving Lion on, good luck roaming on this map.
Not only roaming, just in general, Lion being in play is going to upset the ebb and flow of the entire game. It makes actually seeing what goes on somewhat difficult at times because, well, he just kind of throws everything out of whack. Mira also banned out, so that's one of those bans that you would expect. And Clash gone, not surprising, especially if either of these teams watched the previous match we just now had on Coastline. Liquid versus FaZe. The way Liquid was playing Clash on Penthouse, forget about it. Get rid of Clash.
Well, I got to imagine we're going to see a lot of Maestro play again then, and maybe some Echo play as well, because Maestro being already strong on this map, and then a lot of players play very well, as we saw previously. Not so much the Doc play, but I guess they are going to go with the Echo instead. No, there's Maestro over there. What am I doing? Sometimes I see it out of order. Legion, though, actually there for now, but he might 6th pick over to it. As he sees the IQ now, might even reconsider. They are going to start on Penthouse, despite that being a bit riskier for their lineup, but they're actually going to go with the Pulse instead. And no Lion being brought out just makes me think they just were not planning for the lack of ban.
So they see the IQ, and they lean heavier into the electronics. You could argue that Legion is just as counterable as Pulse is from an IQ. But
there's a difference between tracking your gadget and tracking your body, though.
Bingo! Took the words right out of my mouth. I mean, it's a big risk that you're putting yourself in. And Valkyrie is also very exposed in that she doesn't have many gadgets, so every single one that is lost to an IQ is a pretty solid hit to her usefulness. Though, yeah, Immortal's just gonna stick true to that. They're committing.
And this really risky because I mean, obviously the black guys as well. I mean, will get spotted out, but it's if they catch on the drone phase that there's a pulse. There's certain ways that are pretty typical to play in for especially this bomb site that are likely to get read out and then of course spotted by the IQ and.
Yeah. You know what? This is a random thing. I know it is, but can I just say I appreciate how Immortals happens to have all names that are short enough where they can fit Immortals, the full spelt out Immortals in their name.
They don't have to just go with IMT.
Yeah, it's just odd. You don't usually see that. No. Anyway, Navi's trying to hold on to that north balcony. This is a very dangerous challenge. And he doesn't have a Clash Shield to aid him since that was banned out, but an excellent shot onto Duds. Clean as can be, and he's looking for more. He's hungry for blood. Paula will take down Cyber, and M-King gets the refrag onto Navi, so while it was a good start for Immortals.
He hadn't even put down the second Evil Eye yet, though. Greedy Gus.
Yeah, that is actually greedy. Yeah, if he didn't get that second Evil Eye down, that is a huge waste of utility for Immortals, and ill-advised.
Unfortunately, it doesn't just fall in your pocket and let you see through his corpse.
No, that would be weird. Could you imagine?
Yeah, it'd be fun, though. You never know. You die strategically. Either way, though, advantage going over to the attackers here. For sure, that pulse was short-lived, unfortunately, as we were talking about earlier. Committing to it did not, unfortunately, lead to results, but they are actually going to rotate off of site here and go for either retake or flank, depending on how the timing goes. Fortunately, timing in favor of Intact.
Yeah, Intact able to get that frag onto the smoke. I'm not really sure what the idea is here from Immortals. They have nobody holding the site right now. As they pushed everyone off to try and take out the roamers. Intact's going to get his second kill onto the Jaeger, and Paula will shut down one, so a nice clear from Bootcamp, and Immortals go down.
Well, I mean, I appreciate the gumption from Immortals, but in a way, they just kind of gave Bootcamp around there.
Ultimately, a very confusing round from Immortals. I'm not really sure what their thought process was.
First round, I'll give them that.
Yeah.
They can won.
They can adapt and change. So if you're wondering what we're talking about here, basically what happened is that Immortals just gave away opportunities to Bootcamp. They presented many opportunities. Every single one of those players was presenting an opportunity to be taken out by their opponents.
Well,
and
good on Bootcamp for punishing them for that.
Yeah, Bootcamp were like, hell, yeah, we'll take it, for
All
sure.
right.
All right.
Let's start off with a round, okay.
So Penthouse going to be the next defense here, so we'll go back to whence we came. And, yeah, I can imagine that Immortals is going to say, hey, you know what? Let's play it a little bit safer this round. See if we can avoid peeking everything.
Maybe not go with the pulse this time either.
Well,
they are gonna, and they are going to 6-pick on the attack, but this time they went teasing the Lion, and Boar decided to 6-pick over to the Dokkaebi.
Yeah.
Which, I mean,
curious.
I guess either way, you get some ability to stop people. I always like to think that in some ways you get a little bit of double up combined with the Lion in that you stop someone, because when they go to answer their phone, right, they're stopped in place, similar to the Lion, and you get to hear them up to that point. So in some ways, depending on how the defenders play it, you get a Lion plus.
Okay.
That's not how you play that.
Yeah.
In theory.
I guess. Also depends on who you are as a player.
Absolutely. And so I just like to play the devil's advocate on that.
Yeah, I got you.
But either way, we'll see how he plays. It did play out fairly well for him last time, or last round rather. But they are going to play, as you said, probably a little more careful this time. Although we are hearing a lot of early shots happen. Those may just be from the attackers pre-opening windows indoors. But one is playing very dangerous game here, but is not punished this time. He is hoping to catch someone who thinks they can just enter down below willy-nilly.
That's just a distraction holes being made here.
Cool. I like the mentality on that.
And one waiting for an opportunity to run out on his opponents. Not from the doorway, because that's not prepped, but actually from the window.
Yeah.
That's to the east there.
Good to catch people on rappel, actually.
Yeah, so he's waiting to try and run out on the north balcony. But doesn't seem like there's any pressure being applied to the north balcony right now from Bootcamp. This is a curious attack strategy right now. And it's actually countering the setup that we're seeing from Immortal.
Oh, speaking of countering.
Paula, nice headshot onto Yuk. And as the Jaeger goes down, it seems that the rotation has been called from Immortals. They're aware of where the attack is coming from now. And I don't know if it's going to be enough, because they've got some exposed parties, most notably Navi's inside of VIP. This is not an easy location to hold, and he will lose the fight to Duds. He aims at the torso and loses the DPS challenge to that AK variant.
At least he put up both Evil Eyes this time.
Now, he does have the Evil Eyes up, but his body will no longer be able to assist the defense, and losing an ACOG is odd. A very tight angle from Cyber, and one will follow that up as well with his own kill. Now, Immortals keeping themselves in this round, but still, they're fighting back against the pressure that Bootcamp has applied. Again, playing this extremely tight angle. Cyber looking for some more kills, and he narrowly missed those shots up to M-King. One is looking to flank onto his opponent, but he's given away his position. Has Legion Trap, so he's not worried about being pressured himself, but he's not able to do enough damage for it to matter that he has this position. Gas canisters coming out here to the... Oh, nice! Another clean shot from Cyber. Absolutely nutty. Inside of Penthouse, playing the backwards angle into Projector. He has been a huge driving force for his team in this round so far, just hitting all of his shots. Bootcamp's still in this, but one is starting to come up from behind, trying to apply some pressure to this attack. And it doesn't look like Bootcamp really has the time or the manpower to flank hold anymore. The push from Diogo is going to be shut down. The diffuser's being planted. Boar will be the one to cover. Fuse are no longer being planted, though. The attackers will come off of it. C4 from Cyber misses. One really needs to get into the picture here as Cyber finally gets shut down. One will take out Boar. The defuse plant now being planted inside of Penthouse, and one just too passive. The diffuser will go down, and now he has to retake onto a anchoring M-King, holding this post-plant situation. Though M-King very lit up, one is as well. Slight advantage for the Legion. The mark's coming out. The information is abundant, and he still loses it. The pre-fire off the mark. M-King caught in throwing his flashes and still wins it out. What just happened?
Again, in the theme of utility being used, he died with 5 goo mines in his pocket.
Oh boy, there's so many things wrong about how one played it. All right, I'm gonna go backwards. I'm gonna take a look at every single thing that happened there.
Let's unpack this.
We're gonna unpack that. He started roaming as the Legion downstairs in kitchen.
Mistake one?
Mistake one, as far away from the action as he could possibly be. He was looking to late flank. He saw his opportunity. He seized it, but he hovered around it for at least a minute 30 after he got up to the top floor, going between hookah and aquarium and back and forth, expecting there to be a late flank watch, but there was none. In a 2 versus 2, why are you waiting for someone to watch the flank? The pressure is being applied to the site. You need to go. And he didn't. He didn't. Despite Cyber's best efforts as the anchor on the site, it just was not enough because his teammate was nowhere to be found until it was too late. And we're not even talking about how it was the worst possible operator to be in that situation.
Yeah. Well, credit to Cyber, though, for his plays. I thought he put up a valiant effort trying to pretty much single-handedly defend the site.
Certainly.
But, yeah, unfortunately, one was nowhere to be found, and too little too late. Like you said, he had the pre-fire advantage there, still could not pull it off. So hopefully that was just a fluke, and they managed to get it together as they are down 2 rounds. And Boar is finally bringing out the lion for realsies this time.
I gotta say, I'm gonna take a second to further unpack what we just saw there from one, because it seemed like honestly he was just playing scared. That's what it seemed like. And I want to take a second to talk about how the 2 losses that Immortals has in the second half of the season were against FaZe and Liquid. 2 very big names, granted. But they weren't just losses. They were, against FaZe it was a 1-6, and against Liquid it was a 2-6. Absolutely dominant wins for their opponents. Immortals seems to have an issue with mentality, and I think it comes down to expectations and need. You know, playing against Bootcamp right now, they're down 2 rounds. They really do need to win this to solidify their spot at LAN. They've got another match where they can do so, but it would be ideal to get it here, and that might be costing them.
Well, they did manage to get some use out of the lion, but Cyber and Navi's on top of it. Let's hope Navi's can get more than 1 kill this time before getting downed. But yeah, that's definitely a lot to make up for. At least this round, though, they seem to be doing significantly better. Navi's is a little bit low on health. He's having trouble tanking shots here. Nearly takes a few more from Intact. But at least they have some manpower working out for them. They are playing a different bomb site as well. But no, that is still just 1 for Navi's. But hey, at least he's racking up 1 around.
Oof. Excellent shots from both Intact and M-King. Boar will also follow that up with a kill onto Cyber. What looked to be an Immortals round is rapidly slipping away. Oh, I believe both of the EE1Ds have been used, so that utility is gone, but the damage is done, and it was oh so worth it. One and Diogo, now the last 2 defenders. These are optimal defenders to have alive as your last 2, though. Legion and Smoke, you can delay so very much with those 2, and that will certainly be the objective, as the attack has plenty of time to work with here.
Yeah, let's hope one doesn't hold back too many of those goo mines, because a lot of those placed around where they might approach can stop them from rushing into plant even if you die, giving Diogo a better chance to be able to fight back. But he still has 3 gas canisters in pocket, which is good for him. But at the same time, he doesn't necessarily have all the rotates he needs to be able to fight this. He's depending a lot on one here to win this fight.
Now, one is playing a very aggressive angle. This is dangerous. If he's spotted, he could be pre-fired, but no. He's the one to get the bullets into M-King. Position given away, though, he will relocate. Now it's on one to hold A, and on Diogo to hold B. Flashbangs coming out. They will miss Diogo and one both. The gas canisters are being expended, though, very rapidly. Lots of marks, clearly a drone in a good position to spot out their opponents. Information is abundant, and that's going to be the cameras from the Valkyrie for Immortals. Oh, bad timing for Diogo. He's going to get caught off guard, and Intact will win the fight. Because of that, M-King gets surrounded and finished off. And, or rather, one gets surrounded and finished off. M-King the one to get the final kill. And Bootcamp take another one. That's 3 in a row for them.
That is definitely not what we would have expected so far. I mean, we talk about this being an attacker-sided map, and that doesn't always end up being the case. We saw, for example, a pretty clear opposite of that last matchup. So far, though, Bootcamp just, I don't know, it seems to be they're dismantling Immortals in many situations. They did start out with a bit of a disadvantage. They lost a few fights initially. But many of these players on this team seem to only be able to land 1 kill. You have Cyber, most of the time landing 1 kill on average. You have Navi's doing something similar. 1 as well, aptly named. It seems to be that each of these players can land 1 kill, but as a team, as a whole, they're not landing 5 kills to win the round. And that seems to be a struggle. It's just, I don't know, those last 2 are the ones that are not getting those kills in the sense of being able to even that out. And maybe that's just down somewhat to Diogo and you.
You know, if I look back on Immortals, I think one of the things that stands out for them as a team is their ridiculously high synergy. They seem to be a team that works really well together. Though in this match, I'm not seeing it.
No.
I'm not seeing that teamwork that I'm used to, and it's really apparent that they're missing something right now. You know, sure, this match is far from over. It's only 3 rounds in. We're going into the 4th. Not a big deal. And at any point, Immortals can start to recover this.
Absolutely. And I mean,
but
we know how common 3-2s are going in.
But at the same time, these rounds have looked like Immortals is missing something, and that's very worrisome.
It's definitely, I think, that synergy there. I mean, we're not seeing, like, you know, mind-blowing synergy from Bootcamp either, but they're trading a lot of the kills that are getting you know, put on them, and that's absolutely working in their advantage, especially towards the end of the round when the defenders can't seem to really lock down sight. There's Navi's this time not even getting his 1.
Yeah, Paula's been really prominent on the entry. He's been getting the first kill for a lot of these rounds. And he's just going to get 2, just like that. What is going on? You know that there's somebody coming from kitchen side. It was called out when your teammate died. The marks are on you. You need to be in a position where you've got cover. What is going on? Paula with the 3K. Excellent use of the buck. All of the roamers are dead. Immortals, 2 anchors now, have to fight against the rising tide of Bootcamp in a 2 versus 5.
Diogo in 1 yet again. I'm glad he's not on the roam, but now he's alone.
All right. It's 4-0 for Bootcamp. Okay.
I mean, it feels like not so much a bang, but a whimper.
All right, so I'll tell you what just happened there. Paula got droned in. Paula used buck well. It was super effective. Immortals all died because they were staring in the wrong direction.
Critical hits.
Ay, ay, ay. I'm not sure what I just watched. First of all, admittedly, excellent use of buck from Paula. Excellent droning. Excellent teamwork for Bootcamp. Freaking applause for that. Fantastic. Also, though, what is Immortals doing? I'm so confused.
You know what I would love to see them do? Trade.
Well, okay, all right. I mean, we are admittedly being very critical right now of Immortals, but
high expectations.
High expectations. That's the thing. They are right now a contender for LAN. They are in the strongest position they could possibly have. Liquid just lost their match. Their closest competition just took a mortal blow. If Immortals loses this, then that is them squandering the opportunity. They're playing against Bootcamp, one of the lowest ranked teams in the region right now. This should be an Immortals win.
Certainly feels like an off night.
It does feel like an off night. These happen, though. These happen. Now, it's not over yet. Maybe we've seen it before where one team will get all 5 of the rounds on a certain half, and then as soon as the half transitions, and the other team will get their own full set of 5. So anything's possible.
Absolutely. I mean, it's certainly the case. Like you said, we're being a little harsh on Immortals because we expect more from them, and there's certainly still opportunity for that to show up, but that opportunity shrinking down fairly rapidly here the way these rounds are going down.
Yeah, you certainly need to start making the comeback happen at some point. And it's not just that. These rounds have seemed pretty one-sided, let's be honest, and that's the scary part.
I feel like Immortals' aggression is not well placed. You saw that from the Roams last round, where they weren't set up positions to crossfire, or positions where they had intel, or positions where they didn't have to watch their flank. You saw how often they got shot in the butt by Pala.
And there's this again. There's that Navi's is just peeking in VIP through the window. What happened last time he did this? He got a kill. It was a nice kill, an excellent, very clean kill. And then he died, and then so did his teammate, because he's playing in VIP, peeking the window. M-King's taken a lot of damage, but now Navi's has taken some in exchange. And M-King just playing it a little bit safe. Nade's going on to this north balcony door, and Cyber not going to eat any of that damage. He's actually going to peek into the buck and do a little damage of his own, but he will eat it in exchange thanks to that nade thrown well. Yuke takes down Duds, so finally Immortals start the round off well. A baiting camera there to try and distract his opponent. Will be successful for a moment, but the opportunity not seized from Cyber. Yokai drones for information, and it's being called that the buck is on the close right of the door, but the shotgun not able to do enough damage, and Cyber will win that fight out. One of the main fraggers right now for Immortals. The aggression finally paying off for the defense, and it looks as though they're going to be able to salvage the last round of this first half.
Well, you talked about the synergy, and you saw he probably threw out that camera and actually called out for someone to watch it, as well as the Yokai drone rotating around. That's some teamwork there, and that's why they're landing those kills. And Paula getting down, much bigger impact kill than Duds.
I'm not sure what the thought process is here from Intact, but Yogo able to retrieve his teammate before Cyber just falls to his fate. Confusing. Intact has been down. M-King is on very little HP. The drop in the midst of an EE1D will finish off Intact, but he also... It costs Navi's life. Well, what is this unbridled aggression?
They have a man advantage now.
Yeah, I mean, fair enough, but they had it in the first place. They really want to push no matter what the situation. M-King not going to be reset, it seems, and he will be on very low HP because of that. Yuke in the playmake position to just lock out this round if he peeks at the right situation. He will peek, see the EE1D player, and just not, well, actually trade with Boar. What just happened?
Because M-King is so low on health, that was absolutely worth it against two tanky, 3 armor ACOG players.
Absolutely agree. One will get the final kill, and Immortals take the round, their very first out of 5.
That was, it was interesting to see, because I was just talking about their aggression not working out, and the coordination was much, much better there. They were peeking similar angles, but it seemed like Boot Camp weren't comfortable like counter-pressuring those angles as aggressively. Like, for example, against the Maestro, right? He knew where the Maestro was, wasn't able to peek him fast enough, but Maestro also has the bullet advantage. He took a lot of damage at first, and I feel like that took a hit to his confidence. Then you had the Buck as well. I feel like Palak could have potentially played it, but just the sheer audacity of the way Cyber was playing it, and Cyber has been playing his aggression fairly well compared to some of the other players on the team. Absolutely worked off, but good teamwork as well from the Echo, calling out the Buck play so he could somewhat pre-move on that.
Here's what worries me. As this match has progressed, the playstyle and mentality of Immortals has just ramped up and up and up and up and up and further and towards just pure aggression. And that is, not only is it predictable, but also it is easily counterable.
Very punishable.
Punishable if you know that it's something that a team will do. So if Immortals is gonna start getting more aggressive as they continue to lose a match like this, if this becomes something that's predictable for them, as they go into future matches, teams are just gonna get more and more passive, waiting for them to get pushed. I mean, it's dangerous, and they just won a round. Sure, they won 1 round of 5. But even when they were in a position where it seemed like they couldn't lose, they just pushed everything.
Threw bodies literally down onto the floor through the hatch.
Through a hatch. That is peeking a hatch
during a line.
When you know, during a line, when you know that it's being watched from below, is suicide. Like, that's actually one of the most dangerous things you can do in this game. There is little to no calculation that makes that a good move. Even if you have a downed opponent, just let them pick them up. play your advantage.
Yeah, more often than not, downed opponents that get picked back up still get killed. But speaking of getting killed, there's Diffuser down with Duds with his big first impact kill there. Onto Uke, a nice one by him, and that is on the only hard breacher as well. They do have the E1D to try and stop the bleeding for a second, but
it's not going to happen.
Nope.
Boar manages to take out Navi's in the midst of that E1D, and see, this is now BK's turn to set the tempo. We talked about this earlier in the previous match, actually, where the defense on Coastline seems to be the ones in charge of who's aggressing onto who. The attackers, on the other hand, seem to be at the mercy sometimes of the defense. It can be a little confusing.
Yeah.
The fact that Clash is banned as well changes the way that all plays out. But we're still seeing the defense, the ones who are pushing onto the attack.
Yeah, it seems to be working out for Boot Camp much better so far than it did for Immortals, with the exception of that last round.
Yeah.
Immortals now actually having to check their own aggression here, as even popping the E1D was not enough to save a repelling player. Just goes to show you they are not doing a good enough job droning things out, because if a player that couldn't even move still landed the shots on you.
I'm really worried right now because look at this. We've got 3 Immortal players just chilling on that northwest balcony, or around that northwest balcony. On the repel, Diogo goes down. M-King, an easy angle play there, all the way from Billiards through the wall. Cyber moving his way downstairs. He's going to hit by a Legion trap, and his position now given away. It seems like a run out from Boot Camp, but they will quickly pull it back. Cyber does take down Duds downstairs. One is being delayed on his push thanks to those gas canisters, and he will eat a lot of damage before actually just being downed. Cyber going for the nade, hits the Legion trap. Nade bounces into Paula, who rotates directly into it. A very confusing play from the Legion. One downed, and Cyber looks to want to retrieve his downed teammate, though he's going to have to waste a lot of time to do that.
Yeah, I mean, one wonders what the point is in doing that, and that you're going to lose the round anyways, but he gets a kill.
Pre-fire from Cyber, expecting to push from M-King. This is actually recoverable. Boar waiting aggressively on the doorway. That's the one problem. It's a serious bottleneck. C4 will miss. EE1D in play, and here comes the final push. The peek from the Valkyrie will see success in the immediate intact. The second kill, and Boot Camp take the round. Match point.
Well, we got it right last time in phase, but starting to feel like this is not the day for Immortals.
What? Even? So, okay, Immortals can at most get 1 point. They need to win 4 rounds to do that. Do I think that's likely to happen at this point? No. No, I do not.
Not after that last round.
Shaking my head right now.
Yeah.
I am very confused. This is... Okay, Immortals, I'll say it, I'm going to repeat it again because it almost seems like a fairy tale right now in my head. Immortals is one of the top contenders for LAN right now. They are, in fact, in that second place position. They look very strong there. Boot Camp are nowhere near going to LAN. They cannot go to LAN. They are fighting for points right now to stay away from the relegation spot.
At this point, they're fighting to make the fight for LAN even more interesting going into next week.
I guess, yeah. I mean, it's a confusing match.
Yeah.
Possible Boot Camp just more comfortable here on Coastline, though if I'm not mistaken, they played Immortals last time on Coastline.
Yeah, and lost.
And they lost. So, all right. Weird day.
Yeah.
Weird day, Devin.
Certainly a lot of Coastline, that's for sure.
Yeah, 3 matches of Coastline.
Yeah, and I always like that for the contrast, though. Just not too often, but it's fun every once in a while.
It's cool that we're going to know for fact going into the last week that Coastline won't be played in LATAM. Yeah. And also, it's very likely that we'll see in every matchup a randomly automatic banned map, which could really change things up.
Very true, very true. That does shake things up a little bit. Maybe we'll see an all-EU Coastline then instead. 0 for Diogo, just like the zeros in his name. Unfortunately, not a good start for him.
What is this, Paula?
That is Gumption.
What are you doing?
You know, to be fair, not only did he get away with it, but he got 2 drones in the process.
Fair enough. He's hurting the drone economy. Also, what are you doing? What is that peak?
He's just playing pure aggression at this point. He's playing against their emotions.
Oh, well, that's seemingly that's the mentality for both teams. We saw it from Immortals.
Yeah.
Even when they were down 4-0, let's push everything on defense. And now we're
Difference,
seeing it from boot camp.
They're getting away with it, though.
Yeah, it seems to be working out pretty well.
Immortals are like, what do we do? This is the last round. We have to get 4 in a row or we just lose this flat out.
Seems like the more aggressive you are on defense on Coastline, the more successful you are, at least from what we're seeing from the LATAM meta
So
right
forget
now.
the concept of a passive roam to burn time. It's just find peaks, take them.
Yep. All right, so pushing into the building, Cyber's going to eat some damage from above, a well-established angle, and
Oh, there goes the 0.
Diogo takes out Duds. So first kill of the match, Impact Frags, Devin. Impact Frag.
He hasn't
And
won in-
Cyber, speaking of, will take down Intact.
Nicely done. That is a little bit of a comeback here. So now Pala maybe going to tone down a little bit.
Maybe just a little bit. Not so, as M King peeks wildly onto the north balcony. He will fall back afterwards, so preserving his own life. Well calculated there, sir. Well calculated. Is that a gripless MP5? Did I just see that right?
Speaking of gumption.
I want to see that again. I need to see that again.
I know, it's unfortunate the spectator here cannot hear us.
Unfortunate indeed, but yeah, it's okay. All right.
All right.
Boot camp now with 2 ACOGs and a C4 from below. This is still winnable. They've got to deal with more EE1Ds, and there are smokes and grenades still in play for Immortals, but utility is still well enough in hand for boot camp that they can win this. It's just going to be difficult.
This is something we hadn't seen a lot of today, though, which is actually pushes from VIP, opening up the wall
Yeah.
on in. So this is a rare treat here, but they seem to be able to succeed in pushing this. I think Boar is going to be a big factor in whether or not this works.
Yeah, you can see he's saving his C4 for an actual plant. He doesn't want to use it to get a kill. He wants to outright deny a plant. And it looks like he's going to be unsuccessful as the plant is going onto the bed. Knowing they haven't cleared the below, they will go for a full commit. Actually, no, it's in the default corner. The dock has gone down, and M King is unable to get any kills on the entry. He has downed one opponent, but that opponent will be picked up. That's Cyber, who is back in play. Seemingly another round for Immortals, but Boar is going to get Uke from below. And M King is just peeking all the angles, but they are not being peeked in turn by his opponent, at least not when it suits him. And Cyber will take M King down. Boar a second kill in the round, but not enough time to get 3 and disable the diffuser. So Immortals keep it alive, 5-2, and they try for that draw, though they still need 3 more rounds to make it happen.
Well, a nice check on BK's aggression. Maybe that will have both teams really struggling to figure out what level of testosterone to bring to the next round.
I suppose so. Okay, so Boot Camp finally got shut down. 4 rounds in a row, Boot Camp were shutting down Immortals' aggression on attack, and now, for the first time, Immortals has managed to shut down Boot Camp's aggression on attack. So, good job to Immortals.
Let's all just settle down, grab a juice box, take a nap. Let's relax for a minute.
You know, it's a way of playing the game, Devin.
It certainly is.
It's confusing, but it is.
Yeah.
Kitchen, the next site here.
A smarter choice than Penthouse, in my opinion, with the bands the way they are.
All right, so you want to play? You want to see? I'm gonna say one of the defenders. Let's see, who do they have? Bringing an Echo or okay? They're bringing a Doc. So I'm gonna. My guess is M King is gonna spawn peek from the hookah window. What do you think he's gonna spawn peek from?
Fairly reasonable. We also see some people try and go for the run out on the balcony.
Yeah,
On
north balcony.
VIP. Yeah, definitely one that's common as well. Could
You
go
think
for that.
Boar's gonna do that? Maybe you usually see the Valkyrie do that one.
Yeah, I mean, this is generally the way it is, but they could go for double spawn peak. Could
Okay,
be
so
interesting.
M King spawn peek from hookah, Boar run out north balcony. That's my bet. That's what I'm thinking. That's what I think
yeah.
is gonna happen.
Should be interesting, at least, whether it works or not.
Maybe they won't spawn peek anything. That'd be interesting.
Yeah. Wouldn't it be interesting if there was no spawn peaks? Never thought I'd hear that.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with spawn peeking. It's just this sheer abundance that's shocking. So it doesn't seem like M King's gonna be going for a peek from the hookah window.
Oh, Cyber.
Yeah.
The only one in double digits, at least.
Yeah, look at him go. I
The
mean,
rest of his team below 5.
that's just proof of that's proof positive and of teamwork making the dream work and getting the win. And you see Boot Camp, you know, despite not having one dropping double digits, being up 5-2.
Absolutely.
No. So no spawn peek.
No.
All right.
I'd say maybe next round, but there might not be
I
one.
really got to appreciate this from Boot Camp. They are aware that both teams have been extremely aggressive throughout the match, and I think that they're reading that if they tone it down a little bit, they might be able to lock this out. It's probably due to their recent failure on the last round. Just a little bit too offside, a little too aggressive, and easily shut down.
Yeah, I don't think M King's just going to run around pre-firing everything again.
Unlikely.
But Pala is going to go on a little bit of a roam, it looks like, as well as Boar. So there's definitely some roaming happening here. Jackal tracking of Boar. So he's going to hopefully run back to teammate. There he is. Going to get a little bit covered now. Should be okay. But they might be able to bait him in a little bit with that. So they've got to be careful now that they know the Jackal's tracking them.
This is such a dangerous peak from MK. It's not a spawn peak, all right? Yeah. But it's dangerous. The bars can only do so much for you. He will fall back as soon as the first sign of danger presents itself. Not going to lose his life as he does that.
Fairly decent positions here, though they are going to at least be covering the lobby as well. They've got covering delivery. As long as they don't leave the kitchen or the bar overexposed to themselves, not in a terrible position. I
got to say, setup from BK, definitely good.
Yeah.
But also, Immortals are going to have the right tools when they start their push into the kitchen. They've got a line in play. They've got smokes. They've got grenades. They've got all the different tools you need, like I said. And if Boot Camp's unable to somewhere in this plan throw a wrench and hit a mark, then it might be a clear sweep for Immortals. It's a very shallow bomb site when it really comes down to it.
Yeah, and absolutely. Now they've got bar control as well from 3 of the attackers. I mean, it is a little bit of a one-dimensional attack at the moment, but they have the opportunity to tease out more pressure from delivery.
Now here's that wrench. It's Duds, but he loses the fight to Navi's. M King takes out Diogo, though, over by the main lobby. And a second for M King, playing those long angles with great success. EE1D to back up the smokes and gas canisters are trying to delay this push as much as possible. Boar far off site will give away his position, but he doesn't seem to care, and rightfully so. He's nowhere near his opponents. Yuke will take out M King, the one to do so much damage earlier in the round, so it's all on the rest of Boot Camp to hold this out. You can see that Pala is aware of his position's redundancy and will be rotating to hold the main hallway, and we'll see success in that endeavor as he eliminates Cyber from the off angle. Boar, perfect positioning, won the last attacker, but he has sight at least. It's not going to matter. Intact with the shotgun. Boot Camp take it 6-2, and a huge upset to finish the day.
Well, you want to talk about those 6-2, 6-1s against Immortal? Now Boot Camp finally gets to join the club with Liquid Face.
I am so taken aback by that result. Wow.
It was definitely
weird.
I mean, it was a mix, to be fair, of Boot Camp actually playing pretty well. I don't want to say it was just Immortals playing badly, but also Immortals playing a little bit badly.
Boot Camp played excellent. I gotta say, they did. They were really aggressive. Maybe too much.
This is Latin America.
But they were playing into how Immortals were playing, and it was working for them. Yeah. So, okay.
So next week, the running for Rio between Immortals and Liquid should be extra interesting. It does still favor Immortals in the matchups, I think.
I think it definitely does favor Immortals in the matchups.
But after today, I don't know.
Immortals plays. Oh, actually, you know what? Immortals plays against NIP. And Liquid plays against T1, so actually, I don't know. That's a hard call. NIP has been playing pretty well.
Yeah, well, let's take a look at the standings, because I think T1's actually pretty close there with Liquid, so Liquid versus Team 1, actually a very good matchup to have for next week then.
So
the head-to-head may decide.
So here's the crazy thing. Boot Camp was actually at the bottom there around, they were in, if I'm not mistaken, they were in 7th place until they just got that win. So winning against Immortals, huge for them. They are, I'm sure, ecstatic. They are now a ways away from that auto relegation spot, as well as the normal relegation spot that NIP currently occupies.
Unfortunately for Pain versus NIP, the head-to-head previously was won by Pain, and now it's won by NIP. So I'm not sure how that shakes down, but I think it's down to round differential, which does put Pain above NIP right there.
So this is, wow, the Latin American region is all over the place. FaZe are the only ones seemingly beyond reproach, and the rest of them...
I feel like it was like 3rd through like 6th. They're the only ones that shifted places. Everyone else just stayed where they were. The top 2 and the bottom 2 stayed.
Here's the thing, though. Immortals being in that top 2, well, they stayed, yes.
Yeah.
They also just lost an opportunity to, lock themselves into position. Not necessarily a guarantee, but at least much more comfortable than you would be otherwise. And
yeah, and pressure is a bad thing to have on that last week, because pressure could make you choke or it could make you win.
Against Nip, who we just saw 6-2 pain, Nip looked really good. So,
tell you what, I'm excited for next week.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all we have for this week, but a heck of a play day, as everyone expected. A lot of interesting matches and some potential upsets, but that is it from us. So make sure to look forward to next week. And of course, you're up tomorrow. See you then.
Drop the bomb diffuser. Attackers recover the bomb diffuser. 15 seconds.